What up? I think you're on mute, dude.
What up? Can you hear me?
Yep, now I can.
Hang on, can't hear you.
Can't hear me?
Hello?
Yep.
What's going on, gentlemen?
Mike and everything's on. Get your volume turned up. What's going on, Jason? How you doing?
I'm good. Can't complain.
I got nothing.
We can't hear you.
Hey, what's up? Turn off this.
Hey, Todd. Hey, Kurt.
Hey, guys.
What's up?
Hey, Darnell. Not much. How are you?
I'm good. Sitting out in my man cave.
Sipping a beer?
You know me so well.
Got to do it.
Oh man, now I have to go to
Oh,
drink.
what's going on? I don't hear you guys
I'm
very
gonna go
well.
grab something too.
Hey, well, Darnell, we took care of that one quick, huh? So we took care of that one quick, huh?
Matt, I dig the background. Looks good.
Thanks. I got the. I don't know if you saw the other one too.
Yeah, I tried getting one of them to work, but it tells me because I don't have a green screen, I can't use it. So
You must have like a.
Oh, that looks cool.
You. Yeah. I like the other one better for at least this. I like to have funny backgrounds too for work.
Nice.
I had a video interview where the person used the background. It was like Mr. Rogers' neighborhood house.
Nice.
Nice.
This one was popular for a while.
Oh.
This one I wish was still around. So.
Nice.
What is that? I can't tell. What was that?
That was Pfizer Forum Bucks game.
Ah,
Yeah, it's actually I took that picture. It was Bucks versus the Lakers that day, and it was awesome. Maybe at the end of July, that's what they're saying for the NBA at least.
Yeah, I was hearing
That'd
that.
be nice if they kicked that back off.
What's gonna be
Yeah,
like,
I heard. I have a 10-pack, and my rep called, and I didn't get the last like 3 games. And he said the NBA is talking about like Universal Studios, like all the teams just there by themselves playing games down there.
so it's gonna be a scrimmage because there'll be no fans in there.
Well, they'll pipe in sound like they do in the NFL, so we'll see.
Cheers when needed.
Yeah.
Mm.
Look at
Hey,
this guy.
this guy.
Nice background. So how's everybody handling the working from home forever?
I'm not. I get to work on Sunday.
Nice.
I'm not working. I really can't say for sure how that's working.
In my opinion, it's like a mix of purgatory, heaven, and hell all at the same time.
I mean, I still have about 30 or 40 employees that still are working from home, so I'd have that support. I just don't get to work from home.
So I'd love to be able to go in, but not allowed.
Yeah, video interviewing has been interesting.
Yeah. So are you actively looking?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just been, well, it really dropped off the last month. I mean, it was like as soon as they locked everything down in March, it dropped, and then over May, it really dropped. I've had recruiters tell me that they've gone at least a week without getting any new job postings.
Are you looking for anything specific, or?
Mostly I've been looking at like systems engineer, system admin roles. Most of the leads I've gotten were for various MSPs, but I've got, from when I first got laid off, in that first 4 weeks, that first 2 weeks after I got laid off, I got a whole bunch of leads. And within the next 3 weeks, 4 to 5 of those leads had either been canceled, put on hold, or indefinitely suspended. I just had one, I've been spending about 3 weeks talking to them, and they've finally come back and said, I'm still a candidate, but they're not going to make a decision until they see what the economy does. And that's been the biggest thing, where even the technology companies, the MSPs, they don't know what or how they would onboard someone.
Yeah. We actually had a new hire the day after St. Patty's Day, and we were already a week at working from home. No one was in the office, so we had to onboard somebody like that couldn't even get into the building.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
Yep.
Oh, Denise.
Yes.
Can't see, but hold on. Let's go with none.
Nice.
Yeah,
Right.
my echo.
If anyone who had a beef with it, it'd be Rock, who lost rock, paper, scissors, but
I give you that.
yeah.
Did he throw rock?
He actually did, I think, to lose. You'd have to check the video. It's on YouTube. Forgot where we put it. I think it's on a link for the last meeting. So if you check it, it's at the end. What's the name of this Datto guy? He's not in the waiting room yet or anything.
Oh, I see his picture. His name is Jason.
How you doing? Yeah,
Oh,
Jason
that's-
Pryce. How's it going?
There we go. When do you want to talk? When do you want to do the screen share? We want to do a little. How do you want to do this, Darnell? This one's yours.
I figured we start off like we normally do, introduce ourselves, then turn it over to the vendor to wow us with his stuff. So, that being said, I'll kick it off. My name's Darnell Granberry. I work for the Brager Automotive Group in Milwaukee. We are a car dealership. We are deemed necessary. I have the utmost respect for you guys that are working from home. If I had to work from home, they'd find me hanging from these rafters in the garage because I couldn't do it. I've been with the car dealership for 16 years. I've been in the IDT department for the last 6 years. I am finally at a point now where I'm starting to be proactive about things and less reactive about things. The first 3 years I was there, it seems like every day there was a fire going on somewhere. So now that things are a little bit more calm, I'm able to now actually in the process of implementing Active Directory into the environment, which is huge. I did not know that when you migrate a computer over into the environment that it does not bring over the user profile. So what I thought was going to be an easy undertaking is not the case. I found this program called Forens IT for $89. It has a migration wizard that pulls over all the user profile, all of their stuff, all their favorites, all their shortcuts. Best $90 spent so far. I started using SpiceCorps 5 years ago as a ticketing system, and I still use it for that now. I actually have the Datto appliance in my environment. We use it for bare metal. Well, we haven't had to use it for bare metal recovery, but it's there just in case. I use it primarily for backing up computers and files I use it mostly for sharing between my laptop, my stuff in the house, and the stuff at work. You know, I can save it to a folder, get to work, open up that folder, and it's there. So that's cool for me. Yeah, I've been with them. I've been on Datto now. Yeah, about 6 years. Been a Spice leader for about 3 years, and I've been to 4 Spice Worlds. I'm not gonna count this one coming up, because it'll be like 4.1 since it'll be virtual.
Right.
Let's see. Yeah, that's it. So I smoke cigars, and since my wife wouldn't let me smoke cigars in the house, she let me build this man cave out here, which is pretty killer.
Oh, wow.
Ooh,
Nice.
Wow.
nice work.
There's a check this out. This is the bar that we built,
That's neat. Wow.
and this is actually a door from out of the house. I had a plexiglass for the door, and had I known, I'd have invested a year ago in plexiglass, because that's where all the money is nowadays, it seems. So that's it for me. Let's go to my upper corner here is Matt Huffman.
Well, in the Brady Bunch Square, I'm in upper right middle. So I think that's who's the guy, the old guy from the old shows? What was it, Celebrity Tic-Tac-Toe or something?
Oh,
Oh,
It was
yeah.
like was it Paul Lind, like the crazy gay guy? He was awesome.
not Hollywood Squares you're talking about.
Yes, Hollywood Squares. Yes. Yeah. God, that was a funny show. Anyways,
Stay in your lane, young man.
all right. Hey, a little younger than you. Matt Huffman, IT manager at Lamakia Group. We're a design build firm, so we build things. So I guess we're considered essential. Really, I think there's one state where we're not able to build right now. Otherwise, we have builds going in 20-some states, and we have past and present projects in 40-plus states. We do primarily credit unions. I am work from home now because my wife is a COVID nurse, so I'm kind of stuck and kind of staying out of the building. Once they knew about it, but the owners found out and they kind of went a little nervous. So it's fine. I just got to figure it out. Some days are better than others, but I could be one of those people that got let go or furloughed or reduced pay or something. So I gotta it's my battle, my grift. So I deal with it. Been using SpiceWorks for probably 12 years, just on and off as a tool. I started as help desk 1 and used it to just look my way around the network and look at things. And even though I couldn't implement it, but it was fun to see what I could see with it. Now I'm kind of like Darnell. I use one part of it. I use the network monitor, but it looks like that's going away. So now I'm looking into Land Sweeper. Primarily focus a lot on security, running my department. I got 2 guys under me now. SpiceWorks leader for officially maybe half a year, but background year plus maybe. So I don't know. That's about it right now. It's been a long day. I'm stuck in the basement. I'm tapped today, guys. We're gonna leave you, Jason, over there, and let's go to muted John Niebler on my circle for the square or whatever. I don't know.
That was a good impression. That was impressive.
Pretty good. That was pretty good.
You either sounded like Paul Lind or Stewie from Family Guy. Not sure which. That's who he patterned the Stewie voice off of. Yeah, I'm John Niebler. I'm a one-man MSP in Milwaukee area, and yeah, I've been using SpiceWorks off and on for probably, I don't know, 8-10 years, something like that. I find I probably use the community more than I use the actual SpiceWorks software, though. So now I got dedicated MSP software that I have all my stuff in. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I have found that working from home is actually way more efficient from a not driving around and talking to clients about random things all day. However, some days are better than others because I'm at home and I'm easily distracted.
right,
Yeah, so
buddy.
do I get to call on the next person then? Is that how this is working?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's try that. That's
All
something
right,
new.
so directly below me is Kurt on my screen.
I'm Kurt Shuttler. I'm currently unemployed, so that takes care of that part. I've been in IT for around 20 years now, which seems really, really weird to say. Mostly end user support, systems admin, some systems engineering, and a couple other miscellaneous positions and roles. I got into SpiceWorks a few years ago because I was a one-person shop at a local TV and radio station and started trying to find places where I could get help that I didn't have available at work. And now it's given me something to do and something to look at, and I use it as a reference tool. And I don't get a lot of time in the discussion forums, but they have definitely been useful to me over the years. So at this point, I am job hunting from home, and the video interviewing process has been interesting, and the job hunting world is definitely different from the last time I had to do this. So kind of seeing what happens. And see, I guess I'm gonna go next one. I guess I'll go across and down and pick Ivan.
How's my audio right now?
What?
Is it all right?
Good.
Okay.
good.
I'm Ivan. I'm the IT coordinator for the city of Oconomowoc. I'm also like a one-person team, though I believe I'm getting an intern soon, and we're actually going to look into budgeting for like another position actually. So I'll have like a legit coworker. I was deemed like an essential employee. So basically I got the city up and running to work from home. And then afterwards I like help support like the PD and all the other like emergency services and stuff like that afterwards. So still in the office most of the times. Like sometimes I get a break and then get to like chillax at my house for a little bit. I spent the whole weekend building IKEA furniture. Thank goodness there's no background because it's literally my bedroom right now and it is like trash, dude. It's ridiculous. So Huff, thank you so much for like providing these backgrounds for us. So, and I'll pick Todd.
Okay. So my name is Todd Jordan. I'm the IT administrator manager for the company I work for. Is called ResCare Workforce Services, but I work at the Milwaukee Job Corps Center up on the northwest side of Milwaukee. I support approximately about 300 to 400 computers, probably close to 300 to 400 staff and students. Right now we are technically closed. Students are all at home, and right now it's just the essential staff on center. So there's about 13 out of the 70 plus staff that work on center. The rest are all working from home. So I pretty much do everything there. I'm one man, so I pretty much do everything right now. I'm working on getting smart boards set up for the classrooms, putting in new projectors, replacing computers, all kinds of different things. Got a big network upgrade tomorrow night that we're going to be doing, replacing 4 Cisco switches with new ones. So we're quite busy. Been using SpiceWorks for probably about 6 years now. Been involved in the SpiceCorps for probably close to the same amount of time, maybe a little over 5 years. I started back when it was just John leading, and we met at the nursing homes that he used to work for. There was probably maybe 5 or 6 of us that showed up on a regular basis. So I currently use the cloud help desk to manage tickets. Everything had nothing when I started here, so it was just a matter of everybody calling and sending emails and everything, and it was just getting too chaotic. Things were getting dropped and forgotten, and so I implemented that, and that's made a tremendous difference in organization, note-taking. I'm working on building a FAQ database so people can try to troubleshoot their own problems and not have to call me for mouse not working or something like that. So keeping busy, and that's about it for me. Let's see here. Who do I want to pick? How about Denise?
Okay, I am Denise Grandin. I work at McHenry Public Library in McHenry, Illinois. I just got a raise and promotion on Monday.
Hey.
My minion started on Monday, so I am no longer a solo IT department. I was deemed essential back in March. I got everybody working from home in a day and a half. Luckily, I had enough equipment on hand that I was able to send everybody home with something who wanted it. The library just started taking returns Monday morning, and everything has to sit in quarantine for 7 days according to the state of Illinois. We have to quarantine it. So we have a huge spot in our warehouse that's holding all of our deliveries, all of our mail, all the returns. We can't do anything with it. It's just going to sit there. And hopefully next Monday we can start checking stuff in. So yeah, it's been fun. I'm not in Arizona this week, so there's no swimming pool in the background. I will be back in Arizona probably in 3 weeks. I have to take him back down. We don't know if the cancer has spread anymore. He gets test results on Thursday, which is tomorrow. So everybody hope for some good news. No more bad news, please. What else is there? I'm a SpiceCorps gypsy. I belong to, I think, 7 different SpiceCorps. And some of them I've been doing virtually. I'm doing the West Coast one on Saturday. It's a 4-hour meeting. We have 4 different vendors on Saturday. So if anybody is bored on Saturday and wants to come join us, come on SpiceWorks and look up the West Coast groups, and you can come join us. What else? I don't use SpiceWorks any longer. I was having issues with the help desk, and I basically just use SpiceWorks for the community. I've been to 4 SpiceCorps or Spice Worlds. I've been a Spice Buddy at a couple of them. And I think that's pretty much it. So let's see, who haven't we heard from? I'm not picking Jared because he's driving. We are not going to talk to Jared.
Didn't stop him from eating.
Well, who's left?
You got
One
Jared.
prize with that.
Andy.
Let's see, who's left?
I don't think we heard from Andy yet.
Andy.
Mike check.
Hi, everyone. Andy Kaufman from UW Milwaukee. Working to support a small group, small being like 120 users. Been in IT for 17 years and been involved with the SpiceCorps for probably 2 now, I think. So really enjoy it and look forward to hearing the presentation.
Cool. Is there a reason why you don't have your camera on?
I'm pretty sure my camera's on right now.
It is now.
I can see myself.
Mock Darnell feature.
Fair enough. Jared, do you want to try and chime in while you're driving?
Between fries.
I don't have to eat while I talk. But Jared Bush, I run the St. Louis SpiceCorps. I live in the Schaumburg area. I work for a consulting company, Bundy and Associates. Specialize in phone system consulting personally. what else? Let's see. I've always worked from home, so this didn't affect me until my kids have been home for 3 months, and now I gotta get out of the damn house.
Yep.
You're just driving around.
We still
And he's gotta go.
3 months to go till summer. So, no, actually, I'm currently driving. I literally just crossed the river from St. Louis, heading home. I was on site at a client the last 2 days, and so yeah, now I got 4-hour drive home. So you guys can amuse me for a couple of those, right?
Absolutely.
Hey, Jared, the girls going to Japan this summer?
No, we're all going, and we all had tickets purchased, myself included. But they were supposed to leave on the 21st, so what, 3 weeks? And no, everything's closed. Normally, when I send my wife and kids back to Japan to visit her family, and I put my kids in school because I'm a lovely, lovely father. I send them to another country to go to school during summer break. But
Hardcore. Holy cow.
yeah, since the schools in Japan are actually just opening this month, actually Monday, June 1st, most of the schools are just reopening. We're not going to even try to get kids from another country allowed in, and the whole paranoia from that. Travel's restricted from America, but since they are Japanese citizens, they could go. I couldn't. So, no, we canceled our flights. United surprised the hell out of me and actually is supposedly giving us a refund. I haven't got it yet, but they said we're getting one.
Wow.
All right.
But,
So then
I can't see who else to pick next.
that's all right. I
Dennis.
see
then we got a
Dennis's
cell phone.
ceiling. I see Dennis's ceiling.
Yep.
He went to get a beer. And then I see a caller whose phone number ends in 3443.
Yeah, we got Rock.
Like Rock.
Yep, Rock's connecting.
So while we wait for those guys, well, Dennis, you can go. Go ahead. Give us a little who you are, where you been, what you doing, how's it going?
I'm Dennis Snyder, or Dennis 5701, and I retired. I don't do anything. I volunteer Wednesday afternoons at one of the local airports, and so I just got back from that.
Nice. Let's go with Rock. Shoot, I knew it. I did it on purpose.
Should have been a waitress. Hi. Steve Smith, aka MKE Rock. Been with the group just about as long as anybody else, I think. I was one of the co-leaders. I stepped down from that, and I will be moving to Georgia at the end of the month. So this is very likely one of my last meetings. Well, while I'm in this zip code.
You can still
Yeah, I'm still in the group. I might pop in. You never know.
Okay, let's go to, we got a caller on the line. Caller 708. Feel free to talk. You're not muted. No? Okay. One thing I will say that I wanted to add to is one thing I did notice with all this, a lot of places shutting down, events shutting down, is we do know that like SpiceWorks is virtual this year, but get out there and get online. There is so much that people are doing now. I went to a virtual conference in Iowa and Minneapolis, Data Connectors. It was an all-day thing. It was pretty cool. They had virtual booths. That was fun. Lots of sessions, so you could jump into sessions. We know SpiceWorks. InfoSec if you're into security, InfoSec this year is free and virtual online, middle or later end of June. So if you really want to get into that, go ahead and get into that and follow this group. I try to post things when I see them. I can definitely post more. But Sands, if you're into security, does stuff. I can't think of a couple others off the top of my head, but this is a great chance and a great opportunity to start getting into these. There's seminars. I've had full days where I didn't even work because it was just session after session of different products, different vendors, demos, just a lot of different stuff out there. So, I mean, I did a full Power BI training for a full day from Microsoft that was free. You never know what you're going to get into with this stuff, but, you know, take it, build your skill set, your tool set, and, you know, take advantage of this. I mean, I think I read somewhere you can come out of this when everything gets back to normal, a hunk, a drunk, a monk, or a chunk. And I was like, well, I kind of got a couple of those covered. Like, time to turn some things around. So make the most of this is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I was on the other side of that. They finally opened the gym back up, so I'm gonna try and get off the chunk list.
I'm gonna become a hunky monk.
Pretty much.
So I guess with that, let's go to Datto and Jason Pryce.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so Jason Pryce here. I'm based out of Connecticut, so I'm on the East Coast, so I'm an hour ahead of you guys. I've been at Datto for about 6 years now, and prior to Datto, I was working at Best Buy for 11 years, and I made it all the way up to like Geek Squad, and I ran Geek Squad for a territory. At Datto, I started off in support, did that for about 2 years, went to sales, realized I hated sales, left sales to become a sales engineer. And then from a sales engineer at Datto, I am now a channel development manager. So essentially, I do a ton of webinars, I do live presentations, pretty much just educating people about, you know, the industry, the new trends, things we're seeing, how we're here to, you know, help in terms of mitigating any type of loss from a data standpoint. But yeah, that's pretty much me. Typically, I would normally be on a plane somewhere right now. I am the second highest level at Delta. I'm the second highest level at Marriott. And being home for the last 3 months is just a weird thing. Like, I'm realizing certain rooms are certain colors. I'm like, hey, I didn't know this room was pink or whatever. And it's just the weirdest thing. But, you know, in terms of like being home and being able to kind of get a lot of things done around the house has been really, really cool. In between Zoom calls, I'm running to Home Depot and running to Lowe's and running back and installing this or fixing that. So it's been good. So, you know, out of this negative thing we're all going through, you know, I found areas where I could be positive about. And I think that's been very helpful to me, my mental state.
Nice. Cool.
Well, I made you the co-host, so you should be able to.
All right, yeah, let's get this started. Let's see. Feel free to, you know, just jump in or interrupt me at any point. I have no worries about that. Typically, it's just like a presentation format, but nobody wants to be on a Zoom call and, you know, have a question or whatever, and they can't jump in. So I don't take any offense to that. Please feel free to do so. Let me see. Share. All right. I'm assuming you guys can see my screen right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Right, awesome. So yeah, so today, just going to be talking about Datto and, you know, us being your secret weapon in the war against cybercrime. Once again, Jason Pryce, Channel Development Manager. I don't have to go through that whole spiel again, as I just did it. But in terms of Datto, many of you may not know who Datto is. Probably never heard of us. With us, we are channel only. So we work through MSPs, VARs, IT service providers, things of that nature. And that's our way of making sure that we're protecting our customers and making sure they're getting the best level of service. We are the world's leading provider of IT, MSP deliver IT solutions. Our big product that we got started out with about 12 years ago was BCDR, backup continuity disaster recovery. Since that, we've pivoted and included a much broader spectrum of products. So we have networking solutions, we have RMM, we have PSA, we have SaaS protection, and a few of those products I will be going over with you guys today. If I don't go over a product and you want more information, please feel free to just ask me, and I'll be glad to kind of run that through with you. So we were founded in 2007, over 23 locations worldwide. We have over 700,000 small and medium-sized businesses that we cater to, and worldwide we have almost 2,000 employees. The first thing that I always want to just level set with in terms of what is backup. So backup is making sure that you have a redundant copy of whether it be files, folders, or systems. The reason why you want to have a backup is in case something happens. Typically, in terms of people's thought process, when you say something happening, most people are going to be thinking along the lines of, those fires and those floods and those tornadoes. But really and truly, when we take a look at the whole spectrum, that only accounts for maybe 4, maybe 5% of all of the disasters where backup would be needed. The real problem, the real issue, the real things that we see are going to be this guy right here. This gentleman right here is the end user, right? So you guys probably all know this individual, right? That guy who on Friday night.
His name is Mark. He's a dick.
Actually, I was thinking it was Phil, but all right.
Yeah, so on a Friday afternoon, he wants to go home for the weekend. He's going through his emails. He sees a FedEx email with a tracking number. And what does he do? He clicks on the tracking number because everybody wants to receive something, right? That's like that's the thing that we live for, especially down at the age of COVID, right? And next thing you know, he has ransomware, right? And he has two choices at that point. One choice would be the responsible thing to do, which would be to go and tell IT, right? But the other choice that he has is to close his computer, because when you close your computer, the problem just goes away, right? And when you come back on Monday, that problem is going to be fixed, resolved, and it's the whatever genie that works when computers are closed, right? So that's typically what you're going to see. So typically, people are going to be your greatest risk. This next guy right here, I always laugh when I see this. A couple of years ago, there was a big alert that went out about North Korea sending missiles to Hawaii. And it hit people's cell phones. I'm sure some of you guys may have received that alert on your phones. It was on the newspapers. It was on the web. And when it came down to it, it wasn't a true threat. It was this gentleman who was hacked, right? And so you're saying, hey, how was he hacked? For what he does, he's supposed to have the best security and the best systems and the best practices. But when you look a little bit closer, you actually see the password on the monitor, right? So once again, people are your biggest threat. So when we talk about the anatomy of the internet, we have 3 levels, right? We have your surface web, you have your deep web, then you have your dark web, right? So the surface web, that's typically the sites we typically frequent, right? Well, in this group, I'm sure that you guys have ventured a little bit deeper to the deep and dark web, but I'm going to say for most people, not on this call, we're probably going to be in Yahoo, CNN, Fox News, whatever the case may be. The deep web, that's going to be more so different type of databases, whether it be for medical records, financial records, any type of subscription information. And then you get to the dark web, right? And so the dark web is where all the grimy stuff happens, right? The political protests, the drug transactions, the weapons, the unsavory behavior, right? And that's 96% of the internet, right? So along with that comes the evolution of cyber threats. So I'm a numbers guy. I like talking numbers because it's either black or white, right? Either it is or it is not. 43% of all cyber attacks are aimed at small and medium-sized businesses, right? So you may say 43, that seems like a high number, but when it comes to somebody's business, it's life or death, right? You have your mortgage to pay, you have your family to take care of, you have to put food in their mouth. And so if you get any sort of ransomware, you have to pay typically, right? Unless you have some sort of redundancy or something of that nature, they're getting more guaranteed to get their money than trying to get it from, an average Joe, who's using it for personal stuff, who maybe only has music or photos or something of that nature on their computer. 85% of all email attachments are harmful. So 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10 are good. And so that's pretty crazy. That's pretty amazing when you really think about it, that the majority of things in your email box are bad. As we know, as IT professionals, there's definitely better ways to send any sort of attachment as opposed to going on this method. But for most people, they still do not use those better methods to do so. 91% of attacks are launched from a phishing attack. So essentially, somehow you left the keys to the kingdom available for somebody to come in, walk in, and open the door. It's not as if everybody is just meticulously going out and trying to knock on everybody's doors. They're sending out a wide net, and some people aren't educated enough, and they're clicking on things, which now gives people access. Cybercrimes will cost $6 trillion by 2021. When you look at the $6 trillion, it seems like a huge number, but that's also other costs. So not necessarily the cost that's associated with paying that ransomware, but also the cost of downtime to that business, right? So if you're down for a week or 2 weeks, how much loss are you going to suffer, right? Depending on your business, depending on the size, depending on how highly transactional or not transactional you are, but that's a huge number. 24,000 new malicious apps are removed from the App Store daily. This is huge for me. About a month ago, I was trying to put up a TV in my house, and I didn't have a stud finder. And so I said, there's probably an app for a stud finder, right? Just like playing around. I look in the App Store, and there's like 30 apps for a stud finder, right? I saw some that are charged. I said, I only need it for one TV. Why would I pay for it? So me, even being, as hip as I am, I went to find one that had a decent review and that was free. But how often are those free apps, or even the ones you pay for, for that matter, how often are they have malintent, right? Where they can pretty much see everything you're doing, right? They can track where your location is. They can see your, private text messages, your photos, all of that information, right? And we just are too blind to see it. And ransomware is up 180% since 2018. Over the last couple of years, everything from, Petya or WannaCry, the visibility has gained when it comes to ransomware. You can find it on the front page of magazines and newspapers. And of course, when we start talking about Bitcoin, you can't talk about one without talking about the other. In the time that it took me to go through the slide, we probably had a business was hit every 13 seconds. So we probably had at least 5 or 6 different businesses hit with ransomware in the time it took me to go through the slide. So who are the threats? We have everything from hacking collectives, which are, the good guys, who get together and they do pen testing and they try to see if they can break into things, and they typically don't do anything bad, we hope. They usually, put people on notice that, hey, there's vulnerabilities here, there, the other. People are hacking IoT devices. If you think about in your house nowadays, how much devices that you have, which, you may have gotten from, a TJ Maxx or, offline that came from China or whatever, right? And if you're not careful of how you're installing those devices, you potentially have, a lot of security risk, right? I don't know if you guys are familiar, but I just saw that Pampers has a Wi-Fi enabled Pamper now, right? A Wi-Fi enabled Pamper. That is crazy to me, right? I don't know, what type of where parenting has gone, but if you need Wi-Fi to know whether your kid has, pooped or, used the bathroom, then I think that we need to revisit some parenting. But it's everywhere, nation states, right? So North Korea and Russia and Ukraine and things of that nature. We have even people who are buying malware, right, for like $40 on the dark web, and then utilizing that to actually have like almost a subscription-based model where they're making money weekly or daily off of infecting people. So ransomware is king. Total ransom paid by small and medium-sized businesses over $750 million in 2019. When I say small and medium-sized businesses, that's only a fraction, right? I mean, when I say the $750 million, it's only a fraction because it's only small and medium-sized businesses. We're not talking about people on a personal level. We're not talking about enterprises. We're not talking about small municipalities. We're not talking about police stations and things of that nature. That's a huge amount of money in 1 year.
Question about that.
Yeah.
Do you guys have some kind of breakdown, like how much of that was paid by insurance and things like that? Because what I'm seeing a lot is with insurance companies now covering that, people are just paying it and moving on.
I don't have that breakdown. I know we have a new report coming out in 2 weeks. I don't know if that was one of the things that we kind of looked into. I mean, that's actually a really great question. Especially right now because the insurance companies really just don't have it figured out. I've seen and talked to so many people where people think that they have the correct coverage or and things of that nature, but when it comes down to it, they give you like a whole deck of paperwork to make sure that every single T is crossed and every I is dotted. And if one of those things are out of place, they would take away your claim, essentially.
To follow up with your point, Jason, I've actually seen a lot of this happen, not in person, but I mean, I've been following, like, I don't know if you guys listen to Darknet Diaries, a podcast on hacking and stuff, but it's pretty common. What you're saying is a lot of companies will buy the cyber security insurance and then do nothing. And by them not doing nothing, they are voiding or, not following up or meeting the, I don't want to say principles, but meeting the requirements of their insurance. So the insurance doesn't have to pay out.
Exactly. So there's a huge fight. I mean, there's one case that I saw a little while back. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Mondelez, but they're like a big confectionery company. Like I believe they own like Hostess and Fig Newtons, and it's like a huge company. And a couple of years ago, I think it was 2017 or maybe 2018, they had a huge attack. That attack pretty much disabled, I think, over 3,000 of their computers. And essentially, they calculated their downtime loss at about $100 million. Of course, the insurance company is going to do what insurance companies do. And they said, nope, you guys didn't do everything you needed to do, but however, we'll give you $10 million. And so, you have a company like that. Give me 1 second. Somebody's playing with my mouse in another room.
I'm on a call. I told you when I have these Zoom meetings, y'all be quiet.
Put down the mouse.
My daughter likes to think it's funny to come over and I'm at like a bar in the back of the basement to just kind of sneak around and just pop her shoulder, like her head right above my shoulder and kind of just see what's going on. It's just like, and you can't say anything because you're on a call.
Slip the elbow.
I saw a naked baby run across the room like a couple weeks ago. So
My kids just, if they see I'm on a call, they run away because they're somehow adverse to being on a video call. Yet when they use the phone, they only know how to use FaceTime.
All right, I'm back. I'm sorry about that. So I have my setup in the kitchen, and they're in the kitchen eating or something. So my mouse and everything is still connected Bluetooth over there. So all of a sudden, my computer's going. Brrr. I'm like, "What's going on?" But I do apologize. Once again, it's later here, so typically, I can sneak away, but unfortunately, we can't tonight. But yeah, so the insurance game is pretty insane. The thing is, insurance companies are either overcharging or undercharging. They just don't know right now. They don't know how to calculate the risk or the loss. And that's where, one of the big problems is at this point in time. And so one of the things I like doing is really just kind of talking about some of the different ransomwares that I've seen or different stories that I've seen being on the road. I don't know if any of you guys heard of Popcorn Time ransomware. Right, so this is actually pretty smart. It's pretty evil. Essentially, it's a ransomware where it will infect your computer, and you have an option, right? You have one or two options, right? You can either pay it, right? You can pay the $500, or you can pay the $700, or you can forward it to your friends, right? So, or an ex-wife, or an ex-boyfriend, or ex-girlfriend, or husband, or whatever the case may be. But if you do that, you will get your key to unlock your data, right? So pretty scary, pretty evil, but this is turning victims into part of the criminal enterprise. It's even to the point now where if you get ransomware, there's actually a method to translate it into your country origin, right? So this, once again, this is a wide net is being cast out, and they don't know necessarily where you are. And so if you're living in Korea or something of that nature, and you get it in English, you may not understand what the heck just happened. You just see a red screen with English language, but you can easily go up there to that drop-down menu, go to Korea, and you can now see how much money you owe and what the steps are that are necessary in order to mitigate that. There's also ransomware, which is called the Fat Boy ransomware. This is pretty cool because what this does is it uses the McDonald's Big Mac index. The Big Mac index is essentially, it calculates the cost of living in an area based off of the cost of a Big Mac, right? So in Milwaukee, a Big Mac is probably a lot cheaper than it is in Manhattan, right? And so it'll actually adjust the cost of that ransomware to get it the key to lower it for people who may not be able to afford it. So really and truly innovative, pretty crazy, but these are the things that we're seeing. One of my favorite stories as of late was this one right here. This right here was the greatest casino heist ever. And I'm not talking about these guys right here. It wasn't the Ocean's 11 or Ocean's 12 kind of a thing. What actually happened was a casino was able to get hacked through its internet-connected fish tank thermometer, right? And so with that, they were able to get all the high roller information from the casino, right? So this is more important than money, right? Money will come and go, but if you have somebody's profile, right, you know their age, you know their income, you know where they work, you know where they live, you know their spending habits, you know that, you know, they go to the casino how many times a year. All of that information is going to be good enough to build a profile so you can actually steal people's identity and become them. So this was, you know, pretty crazy. And you start thinking about how does that happen to a smart thermometer? And it goes back to my earlier statement about IoT devices and where are they coming from and who's vetting them and making sure that there's not any type of listening device that's gaining information and sending it back home. And one of the things that, you know, some people will say is, hey, but I already have a great backup solution. And, you know, our data is already in the cloud and, you know, those types of pushbacks. But when you start looking at like the San Francisco Metro Transit Authority, they were struck with ransomware. They had a $73,000 ransom. And this all happened the day after Thanksgiving. So, you know, at least out here, the day after Thanksgiving is probably like one of the busiest weekends ever, right? So you have Black Friday, everybody wants to get a $50 75-inch TV and they're willing to kill for it. And so they say, you know what, we're okay. We'll just restore from our backup solution, right? So they had some sort of solution. They were able to, you know, start that process. But the network was down for 2 days. And once again, that's a Friday and Saturday after Thanksgiving, right? And so when we started taking a look at, you know, their website and kind of get an idea of how many rides they give a day, 735,000 rides a day, we average at between $1 and $2.25 per rider. On average, they probably had a loss of about $1.5 to $3.3 million, right? All because they were down for 2 days, right? They had a backup system, but they weren't able to get it up and running in order to make sure that they don't have to have that level of loss, right? Not only from a money standpoint, but how many people couldn't make it to work that day or that weekend, how many people just couldn't move how they needed to move, right? So that has that negative impact. Well, actually, I think in this case, I think they actually ended up letting people just ride for free for the 2 days, right? So at the end of the day, it was still a loss. So ransomware is running rampant. It's an epidemic, but we're doing a lot about that. So one of the things that what we have is This illustrates that whether you have a physical production machines or you have a virtual environment or virtual infrastructure, you can back up locally on premise to a Datto device. That device can be in one of three flavors. It can be a virtual device, it can be a physical device, or let's say you had like an old server laying around that was powerful enough to become a backup device. You can actually convert that into a Datto backup device. From there, it goes to a primary location. That primary location is in Allentown, Pennsylvania. And from Allentown, it then replicates from there over to Salt Lake City on the other side of the country, right? So at any given time, your information, your data is being protected and saved in 4 locations, right? So it's that primary location of the production machine, it's the virtual Datto or the physical Datto, it's the first or primary cloud, and it's the secondary cloud. This is pretty much a comprehensive look at the different BCDR devices that we have. Normally, I'll just skip over this, but you guys are pretty well versed from IT standpoint. So our Alto 3, that blue device right there, it can protect up to 2 terabytes. That one there is able to do hybrid virtualizations. What a hybrid virtualization is that it does not virtualize on the box. That box is not powerful enough to do so. However, it can be virtualized from the cloud, right? You can even virtualize it in the cloud through the box and use the box as a VPN. We have our Series 4. The Series 4 is like our workhorses, right? It goes anywhere from 500 gigs all the way up to 100 terabytes. You're able to virtualize locally on the box. It can protect more agents. It's more of a beefy device. Our Series 4X, Series 4X is able to do flash. It has flash-based storage inside of it. So therefore, it's able to handle more IOPS. And with more IOPS, you can have more virtualizations happening at one time without having like high IO loads. Series 4 Virtual gives you the ability to, if you have a virtual environment, you can carve out space within that virtual environment and put the Series within there. And then we also have Series 4 Image. Once again, if you have some old hardware laying around, you can actually image that to become a Series 4. So we also include ransomware detection. What our ransomware detection is instead of scanning your production machine for ransomware, what it's able to do is able to take a look at that carbon copy, because what we're doing is we're doing full image-based backups. Is able to look at that copy and compare points to see if there's any signs that a ransomware exists. And at that point, it'll alert you, and then it will give you the best point to expedite the recovery process. So we want you to stop thinking about traditional backup. We want you to start thinking more so about continuity. So what continuity is not, it's not cloud only, it's not local only, and that includes tape if any of you guys are still using tape, and it's not file-based backup. What it is it's a hybrid cloud backup, which once again, we have the local backup, but it also replicates to 2 clouds. It's image-based, meaning that we're taking block level changes of everything. So the OS, the files, the settings, it's a carbon copy of that point in time. And what that's going to deliver is superior RTO and RPO. We're going to talk about that a little bit later, but RTO is recovery time objective and RPO is recovery point objective. It eliminates downtime, and then once again, it's able to have virtualization. Virtualization is being able to take that point, mount it in the hypervisor, which lives on the device, and be able to be up and running and have that business continuity, as opposed to backup, which, you know, if you did a file-based backup, you'd have to build up the OS again, do all your updates, settings, things of that nature, and then pull the data back over. So how does this work, right? So rudimentary kind of look at what's happening. You have a server, you get ransomware. It's been being backed up to this Datto appliance. Because it's been backed up to that Datto appliance, you're able to now virtualize off that Datto appliance. So once again, you're using that hypervisor, which lives on that appliance. Benefits of virtualization, obviously, is reduced time, helps your RTO, RPO. Once again, that's going to be a big theme. Any type of business is all about RTO and RPO. At the end of the day, what is your threshold for pain, right? It's your threshold that, hey, I can afford to be down for 3 days. You know, if you're a bakery, maybe you can, right? You have your recipes memorized, you make the same thing every day. It may not be that important for you to be up and running that quick. Your business can survive. But if you're highly transactional, you're doing different, purchases and purchase orders, things of that nature, then hey, your RTO might be 30 minutes or something of that nature. And once again, local and cloud. So you can virtualize locally or in the cloud, meaning that if the typical way that most people will recover would be local on that device, because it's easier to get back to your production server. But if something happened, let's say, those fires, those floods, or the tornadoes that happen, that 4 or 5% of the time, you'd be able to virtualize from our cloud without the need to do it locally.
Hey, Jason, did you, are you in the middle of a blackout right now, or?
Oh, they turn off the lights and I just didn't even realize it.
Okay.
Oh, so zeroed in.
All right.
All right. Better?
And let there be light.
I thought it was part of the show. I ain't gonna lie, I didn't know.
Well, I was gonna start lighting the fire, right? So, all right. Another thing that is important is to talk about SaaS protection. What SaaS protection is our ability to back up G Suite and O365 instances. So in all of the underlying products, most people say, "Hey, why the hell would I want to back up my SaaS product?" Right? Doesn't Microsoft handle that? Doesn't Google handle that? But not really, because it's a shared responsibility model. They'll make sure that the infrastructure is up and running, or they're responsible for that. However, they're not responsible for loss, right? So if they lose data, if they lost an important email and you aren't able to close a deal, you can't sue them for the cost of that deal. I mean, pretty much you're on your own when it comes to that. So 1 in 3 companies using SaaS, they actually lose data. 47% of data loss is caused by end user deletion. And that could be somebody saying, getting the alert that, hey, your drive is full or whatever, you need to delete stuff, and they just go and copy everything and throw everything in the trash, and 30 days later they're like, hey, I needed to get this and I can't find it, and unfortunately it's gone forever. The other thing is about 20% of data loss is caused by malicious act. Somebody leaving the company, somebody gets terminated, somebody doesn't want somebody to have their book of business as they leave a company. All those are different factors why somebody may go in and intentionally cause issues by doing that. So the other thing is SaaS data is still vulnerable to ransomware. So I don't know if any of you guys have heard of Ransom Cloud, but it's a version of ransomware that can exist in like an O365 existence. Essentially, your end user, or anybody would get an email. It looks like it's from, Microsoft, because it says Microsoft and it has colorful like windows, and it would say, oh yeah, this is cool, I hate spam, right? And they click on it. Next thing you know, you're giving them the ability to authorize that tool to access the O365 account. Next thing you know, they get ransomware within their whole account. The only thing you're able to see pretty much is like the different headings, because they want you to see how important that information within it is. And then next thing you know, you get the ransomware pop up within the email, which is saying, hey, you need to pay us if you want to get this information back. So this is a real thing. We actually have a video that goes in and talks about that as well. So if anybody wants that, you can reach out. I can make sure I can get it over to you as well. But it's pretty cool, pretty scary when you see that. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but this is Kevin Mitnick. He was like one of the big hackers back in like the 80s, and he was like on the run from the FBI for several years. He finally got caught. After he got caught, he turned his life around and became more of an ethical hacker. He created a company called Nobi4. Really good guy. We work closely with him, but he's scary. Every year we have this big event called DattoCon. Last year it was in San Diego. He was one of our keynote speakers. Essentially, he stood in front of an audience of about 3,000 people with a bunch of screens, a bunch of computers. And he asked the audience, for volunteers, hey, all I need is your first and last name and your city. Next thing you know, on the screens, which is in front of 3,000 people, he's pulling up people's social security numbers, driver license, pictures, address, the whole 9 yards. So this guy is a scary guy to know. If he ever come across him, if he ever asks you, for anything, your name, your eye color, just walk away, because he's a bad man.
Presented at SpiceWorks 2 years ago, and I actually have 2 of his books. One of them is actually signed.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's an intense guy. He's a really intense guy. So data SaaS protection offers limited storage, quick, simple setup. You have multi-admin access, and it can scale to enterprise. So we have a lot of big companies, corporations who actually utilize this as well. So just to go back real quick, we have a hybrid cloud-based backup solution. It's image-based, delivers superior RTO and RPO, eliminates downtime, and has virtualization capabilities. And so when we talk about RTO and RPO, this right here pretty much illustrates it the best way that I can think of putting this slide together. You have a disaster which strikes. At that point of that disaster, you have the last point that you're able to virtualize or do a file restore from, or do a BMR from, or whatever the case may be. That's going to be recovery point objective. So some people want to do a backup every 5 minutes. Some people say, hey, I want to do it hourly. Some people say, hey, I only want to do it twice a day, whatever the case may be. But this right here, that the time from your last backup is going to equate to where you are in terms of that RPO, right? So most people want to be, as close to the last good point as possible. But some people's environment doesn't necessarily change that much, so therefore they don't do backups as much. And it could be for various reasons. It could be from network traffic. It could be they have an older system, older network setup, or something of that nature, which is a lot slower. So when these backups are running, and the hard drives are older and slower, and it's going to clog up the network. I mean, there's a various amounts of reasons why people would choose different times or amounts of times to do backups. The other point is going to be recovery time objective, right? So what's your threshold for pain? How long are you okay with being down? Some people will say, hey, I'm down, I'm going to go to lunch. When I come back, I just want it to be up and running. So their RTO would be an hour. Some people are saying, hey, I need up, half an hour ago, right? So everybody has a different, once again, threshold for that pain. We have what's called a recovery and downtime cost calculator. So what we did is we have 10 questions. It's pretty much 6 questions about the current data storage. It's 4 questions about the state of the business. And between those questions, so some of the questions would be like, how long can you survive without access to your IT systems? How many hours of work are you willing to lose or repeat? You start filling in all this information, the amount of data you have, how often you do your backups, your average salary for your employees. I mean, all of this information goes into this system or this tool and out spits these results. So in this case, on this person's current solution, their total downtime loss for about 6 hours and a half are about and in terms of a data solution, if you look at it being about 6 minutes of downtime from the time you're able to virtualize and get that point up and running, it's probably more so about $5,783. So a huge difference we start looking at the cost associated with that amount of downtime. So we
calculator available online anywhere for anybody?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the RTO calculator. I'll get it for you. I'll get it and I'll put it in the chat box down below.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. So we just want you to stay protected. So a couple things that we put together are a couple steps that you just make sure that you follow to help prevent you from being, attacked or a victim. So first and foremost, the thing you have to do is humble yourself and never say it will never happen to you, because chances are it's going to happen to you, right? Always have, policies and procedures written down in practice, because, when it happens, you can't be trying to figure out in the middle of an inning. Here we go. Ongoing employee training. Once again, it's important to train your employees, and access to any of your IT systems. They should all know. So whether it's a janitor who punches in, or whether it's
Hey, man.
Yep.
What?
Hello?
I think Rock was taking a phone call. I muted him.
Oh, okay. All right. Having a password management system. So,
All right, Jen.
no worries. So, making sure that, however you handle your passwords, using a password tool or whatever the case may be, that, it's something that is protected. Never leave devices unattended. There's so many times where I go to my dentist and I walk into the waiting room and the receptionist is not there. She's in the back talking to the doctor, and I can look over and see that the computer she's using with all the customer or patient information is left alone, and for anybody to just jump over and take a look or a peek or whatever the case may be, obviously, not respecting different type of HIPAA laws and things of that nature, but, making sure that never leaving those devices, without them being locked and secured. Be careful what you click, obviously. Antivirus and malware protection is still a thing. It's still needed. A lot of people have kind of strangely enough, don't see the value as much as they used to, just because of how, they think the training is just the big piece. Don't click on this and that won't happen. But this is still an effective part of your strategy to make sure that you're not getting infected. Backups are a must-have. And once again, with the Datto solution, it's going to be one of the quickest ways that you can do a backup. Aside from backups, you can do other things as well, like you can do like P2V or V2P conversions and things of that nature, which we see happen quite often. Have a mobile device policy. I think COVID has really shown light on to bring your own devices, kind of a thought process where people are commingling their own personal information on devices as well as their business information, and making sure that that business information isn't subjected to being hacked or stolen or anything of that nature. And then another important piece is security testing. So working with like a managed service provider, or IT provider, or somebody from the outside to try to break your system, right? Because if you're trying to do it yourself, then you may not be giving it your all, or not seeing all the possible vulnerabilities. So you do all that stuff, we believe you're heading in the right direction. And thank you. That's pretty much all I have. And if anybody has any questions or whatever, we can definitely do that. And while you do that,
one question about your storage. You were saying it was like the device, 2 terabytes, 100 terabytes, whatever the sizes are. How is that defined? Is that raw storage? Is that compressed storage? Do you guys have
you cut off at the end. So, I'm sorry, you cut off a little bit.
Yeah, I love Illinois.
Blame it on
Is
Illinois.
the storage compressed or not? And when you say you can back up 2 terabytes.
So a 2 terabyte device is 2 terabytes of like just raw storage on that device. That is so if you're backing up a device, so something like that, we want to do like a 2-to-1 ratio. So you want to be at 50%. So if you're backing up a 1 terabyte device, you want to go to 2 terabyte unit. That gives you room for a couple things. One is the room is going to be for having a decent amount of retention, because you can set the retention policy. So some people or most people, depending on industry, may do 3 months or 6 months or something of that nature. So you want to make sure that it can accommodate that. The other thing is that with the file structure that we use, which is called ZFS, after like 85-90%, it starts getting really, really sluggish. So you always want to make sure you have enough space. The reason why we use ZFS is because, believe it or not, ZFS is less susceptible to corruption than pretty much any other technology out there. And the way we utilize it, we're able to do the point in time backups that can be virtualized instantly, right? So not necessarily having to wait to build a single point. Any point within your set can be brought up in the same amount of time, which is typically under a minute. But there is a level of compression that does happen as well. It does depend on there's not a set number. I've seen when I was in support anywhere from like 9% compression all the way up to like 37%, 40% compression. It really depends on the type of files and things of that nature. It also depends on whether you want to do encryption as well, because our devices are capable of doing AES 256-bit encryption. And if you wanted to go that route, then you would not get compression because you can't see through the compressed through the algorithm essentially.
All right. I have a quick question. So I heard you say something about like HIPAA earlier, but what about like CJIS compliance? Like, do you have any clients that are like law enforcement or anything along those
Yeah,
lines?
yeah. So we have a lot of government. We have a lot of MSPs that deal with government, whether it be local or state. As of right now, we don't have some of the federal certifications. We're currently going for some of those items. So on that level, it's totally different than the state or local level. But yeah, we deal with police departments. We have one person who deals with nothing but city municipalities. Yeah, but we have a wide range of people who are in, I guess, your segment or vertical.
Okay, I guess like a follow-up to that question is like basically like for CJIS compliance, it's almost like state by state.
Mhm.
So I was wondering, like, are you guys like covered in all like 50 states then?
I can't. I don't know that off the top of my head. I can figure that out though and let you know. Absolutely.
All right, thanks.
Let's see.
So I have the Datto appliance now. I have the Series 4 Plus or 4X. It's the on-prem, the thin Datto that I have. Just recently, our account was done. Like we did like a 3-year lease on it. Now it's our device. So my question is, I don't think I ever really got the full potential of that device.
Mhm.
I have a third-party vendor that set it up for us.
Mhm.
Is it possible that I could just talk to you guys, or do I have to go through that third-party vendor to figure out how to use the device, how it to the full potential?
You can go through us. However, you have to essentially there has to be permission made or given or granted, I should say, between that third party and us, because we are exclusive in terms of being utilized through that third party. That has to be kind of laid out. But yeah, we have no problem in terms of showing you what needs to happen. We can also, we can also talk to your end user. I mean, to the third party person, and they can give you end user access as well. So you can take some training in that way. So there's different ways that we can work around and make sure that you are fully knowledgeable about the product. Oops, I just put it in. So I just put the RTO calculator in the wrong thing. I just put it back in right now. All right, so you guys are good for that. And Ivan, I'm gonna get the answer for you as well. But yeah, the device can be used in so many different ways, different applications. Like I said, some people are using it for convergence, right? So V2P, P2V. Some people are re-imaging all their computers using a single image. Some people are backing up those virtual environments. Some people are backing up just the physical environment. Some people are able to add a NAS share to that device and be able to ingest other shares that are on the network. So that would give you the ability to have versioning and also have the ability to allow it to go to the cloud. You can add our Datto Drive local capability to it as well, which will give you the ability to have own cloud, which we invested heavily in early on. And you can actually send pretty much everything from your phone or other devices can phone home back to that Sirius device, and you can still have the backups happening, which once again will give you versioning. I mean, there's so many different ways that you can use the product, and that's just the B2DR stuff, right? So once again, we have a ton of different product offerings, including the networking, including the RMM, including PSA. Yeah, I mean, we're full-fledged.
So now that we're friends and I have the device, I mean, I want to say that the third party Munger, he set me up as he gave me permission to actually contact you guys if need be. Since we're friends, I'm gonna call you tomorrow. You can walk me through all this thing can do, right? Make me awesome, right?
Okay, I might be a little rusty. I mean, I've been off tech support for about 2.5 years. But if you ever have any questions, you have my information. I have no problem training or showing you or giving you a breakdown. I mean, I definitely want you to appreciate the full capabilities of what you're paying for. So I have no issues, doing it, with you. Absolutely.
This is recorded.
Damn it! Oh! My name is. Damn it! All right, I guess I have to now. Yeah, that wouldn't be an issue. I would feel comfortable giving you all the help that I can give you. Absolutely.
That's cool. That's cool. I appreciate that. Anybody else?
I typed it. Read the chat.
We did.
Oh.
If I. Yes. Yes. Yeah. So, want me to answer it publicly?
Yeah, that's fine.
Huh?
He said, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't. So his question was like, if he has a fallout with his MSP or IT service provider, and he has that device, can he transfer over to another ITSP? And the answer is yes. The reason why I was apprehensive about answering is I didn't know if his MSP was on this call, so I didn't want to blow up his spot. But yes, you would be able to do that. So there's a form that is filled out, and it transfers that ownership of the device or the relationship over to the new MSP. Typically, we don't see much pushback when that needs to happen, because if you're on a contract and somebody doesn't like you anymore, they don't want to hold on to that contract. They'd rather just pass it on to somebody else. So yeah, that wouldn't be an issue at all. We see it happen quite often.
So that being said, how many vendors do you guys, or how many vendors do you guys have in the Milwaukee area or Wisconsin area?
I could look that up. I'm not sure off the top of my head. I know like my boss lives in Milwaukee himself, and he's more familiar with the competitive landscape out there in regards to that. But I know River Run is one of the ones that are out there that he used to work at. But I think this. I'm gonna get the answer for you because I'm not quite sure off the top of my head. But I think it's a fair amount of especially with the proximity to Chicago, just being right up the street. And a lot of times, in terms of an MSP standpoint, they kind of overlap that region, and so I know it's pretty big. Every time I go out there to do an event, we typically have at least 70 people in the room, and so typically they're driving from at least an hour, up to like an hour and a half away.
Nice. Not that I'm falling out with my current guy, but
it's I mean, do you guys have any questions about continuity? You guys have any questions about what you're currently using or anything? I'm here to answer anything you guys need or would like to ask.
just so you know, Jason, this is not normally a quiet group.
No, I bored them to death. Thanks. My self-esteem
Usually when we meet, we're at a bar and we've all had some drinks in us, and we get a little bit more loose lip that way. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We usually have about 25 to 40 people too.
Right.
Got you.
But I can say that this was our first vendor-led SpiceCorps, and I think you did a pretty good job with that. So we appreciate it.
Thank you very much. And if you guys ever want to do this again or want to talk about some other products that we have in our fold or whatever, Darnell, please feel free. Or any of you guys feel free. I'd love to do it again. Any way we can add value, it's important to us.
All right, tomorrow.
You would normally, I need to hit the record button. Turn this recording off, right? I'm trying to make empty promises, and you're not helping me.
Nobody's got anywhere to go.
It's recorded and backed up.
Well, thank you guys for having me. If you guys have any questions, I guess I'll give you guys your meeting back, and please feel free to share my information with the team. Ivan, I will information. I'll reach out to you probably tomorrow.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good day,
So then,
guys.
Jason, are you okay with me sending these guys your email address then? Is that kind of the thought? You're okay with that?
Yeah, please. Absolutely.
Okay, cool. We'll do that.
All right, guys. Have a
All
good
right,
day.
well, thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Enjoy your family tonight.
Thanks. Have a good night.
Thanks, Jason.
All right, guys, what do you think? That was our first vendor-led virtual SpiceCorps. Wah, wah.
I think people need to ask more questions and talk more. I thought he was a really good vendor. He did a really good session, and nobody asked him questions.
I gotta
Hey,
get through
Pooh.
one hurdle first, so like the first hurdle is usually the biggest one. So
So on this call, we currently have what, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I think at one point we were up to 14 people with a caller, and then someone else dropped out. On average, when we were meeting in person, we would get between 25 and 30 people. So I guess I honestly thought that we'd have more people show up because you could do this from your home with your bunny slippers on, with the martini or cocktail in your hand or whatever you should do.
I think the big thing is
drinks that I think attract people.
yeah,
Hey, say
exactly.
that
I was
again?
about to say that too. So it's the free food and drink. So
At the same time, though, you got to think like you got free. You can't even see my hands when I put the background on, but I mean, you've got free. Let me just get it off. Get it off. It's done. All right. So you got free food and drinks. Where's my hand? I got the mirror thing on. So free food and drinks on this side. But those are the people that are just there for free food and drinks. Where are you at in your career? Are you here to learn and grow and try to network and realize that it's more about, I'm not going to use Datto. I'll be outright, I'm not going to use it. Doesn't mean I'm not going to use it in the future. Doesn't mean I'm going to need to use it as a resource in a couple years. But I know that now. But the people who are here for food and drinks, they're not hearing that. They're not seeing that. And that's one thing like Darnell and I have been pretty passionate about this group. You don't need to use SpiceWorks. Don't care. Don't really need it. They're just a host. They're just a name. To me, this is about MKE and IT. And I think that means more to me. And like, if you only want to come for food and drinks, like there's barbecues in the park every week. Go talk to somebody there. You know what I mean? Like, kick rocks. Like, we're here to learn. We're here to grow. I have been hard and fast and steady with my career and what I wanted to do. And I've always been one to push and to grow. And like, I want to push that and teach that to everybody here too. Like, I think it means something and it does something. Like when you start building that just, you see these doors opening up for you. Like Chris Rock always said, like, nobody pulls over and helps the guy on the side of the road sitting in his car. But if you see somebody pushing, you're going to get out and help them. I'm out there pushing, and I'm going to help people pushing. So,
When I first started this, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say I agree, but and I see this in St. Louis all the time. We only have, unfortunately, down there, we only have like 3 or 4 people that are actually like you guys and pushing and trying to grow it. Everybody else, if there's not a vendor in food and drink, nobody shows up. They don't participate. As soon as the vendor's done, they leave the meetings. We don't have bullshitting after the meetings. Yeah, so I mean,
that's the best part,
a
man.
bit jealous of how your group runs, with in general. And I push for this with St. Louis, and we just never get it.
I think
So,
to your point, like what sucks is we were actually kind of on a roll, Darnell and I. I don't know if anybody knows this, but I think we were booked. Like when this all started in March, we canceled the March meeting. We had things booked till almost August. We had vendors lined up for monthly meetings. Like we were going to really start rolling, and we were going to start hitting up like the colleges and getting young people and people who are like going back to school and learning their career and networking, like really starting to push this. And I don't know, I've made a couple posts and just said stuff and tried to push and see and get some reaction from our group. We have 800 plus people in our group. 800 plus, and I got 5 people responded on one, like, hey, are you in IT anymore or anything?
Yo, okay, so about that bit, all I gotta say is that like when I click on like my feed, like anything that's like SpiceCorps MKE, it gets buried, man. I literally like on a whim just like clicked on my feed and like went through like a couple pages. That's when I saw like your background thing. And then I like replied right away. I was like, yo, man, give you those spicy 1920 by 1080 backgrounds, you know?
I think you should be getting an email too. Like it depends on how you have your account set up. Because anytime someone I put out a post, I have it set where I get an email. I also subscribe to my own posts and things like that. And then I have it bookmarked, just our page, our Milwaukee page in general. I have a bookmark just to go check it every day and see what's new and if anybody else has posted anything.
Yeah, because like I saw that like the post about like, are you still like IT or whatever, and then I was like, oh, it's like been 2 weeks, you know, I don't want to like click on anything. So
feel free, man. I go through old posts too. That's how Darnell and I discovered, like way back in the day, like the very first SpiceWorks Milwaukee meeting, they recorded and they were doing video conferencing. I think they only did 1 or 2, but they stopped after that. So I mean, that's where we kind of got the idea, like, hey, let's continue that. Let's find a way to keep going with that. So I mean, even after COVID and all that, like I would like to try to throw in Zoom on our live meetings and have people, you know, we might have to have somebody at a computer taking questions, and we'll, you know, people who can't make the event but still want to see the vendor. So
I like this though, like just like you're thinking about it. Like I do like enjoy the fact that like maybe I have like a really rough week or something like that, I won't be able to like make it. Like you know, we can be like the robot in the background, you know, on an iPad or whatever, you know, or Chromebook.
I tried to put it on YouTube as well. I think I got 5 or 11 views. I forgot what I said earlier. I think it's 11 views, but nobody's watched past 5 minutes. So it was, you know, like
when I first started with this group, and I went to John and I was like, there are 800 people in this group, and yet consistently when I come to these meetings, there are 20 people. We have to do something to get more people involved. And he was like, okay, so then become a Spice leader and get more people involved. And I don't know what to do to get more people involved. So then actually at a Spice leader meeting, we were talking with, and Matt was like, maybe we just fucking wax the whole group and have everybody kind of reapply. Because when I put in a 2 years ago, I put out a question about what people were using for their internet backup. And a guy from ComQuote that lives out in Pennsylvania contacted me. So it makes me think that of the 800 and some odd people that we have here, not all of them are actually active members. I mean, there could be vendors in there. There could be people in there that just maybe are no longer in IT or whatever the case may be. So I think, Matt, maybe that idea is not such a bad idea, that we just kind of clear out people that haven't been in here and then just get back to just start with like a core people and build from there.
From my own experience, I've been retired for 3 times, and you know, I can retire again. If you're serious about your job, then you know you make time and you find opportunities to educate yourself. If you don't care, then come for the free food. But whatever.
Right. Okay.
You know, I think what we're looking at is the core group of people who actually care. So if you can't drag them in with free food, I mean, you know, why bother? You know, they're not contributing anything, and they're not even contributing to their own lives.
Right.
And I think you got people that join just to get the free socks, just to get the freebies, and just to get points in the community and all that. So yeah, I mean, you're gonna have, I bet you out of that 800, I bet you 700 of them are just ghosts right now.
Well, I think about when I was an intern at Milwaukee County, out of the 6-7 other interns, I think 1 is still in IT besides me. I mean, I when I asked that question, like how many people, like I was genuinely curious. And then I even made a post asking like, hey, who's our hidden vendors in here? Like we have meetings, like we have the opportunity now where it doesn't cost you anything to have a Zoom meeting and do a presentation now. They should be jumping for something like this. So,
right. Agreed.
I mean, we could probably have meetings almost probably every day if we pick vendors at this moment. There's enough people. Like I mentioned, if you guys aren't doing or looking for things, like I'll start sending stuff. I'll post it in the chat, or not the chat, but our SpiceWorks Milwaukee thing. Like I have something probably every day. Like you can find something every day out there. I mean, there's so much out there now because everybody's at home now. I mean, I worked with Checkpoint, and they've given me 4 or 5 meetings now, and then they want to book 4 or 5 meetings in the future when things can get together. They want to sponsor the group, but can't do anything yet. But I mean, it's cool. I mean, you can really start. There's time. The time is there now. So, like Dennis was saying, there's the people that are pushing, and if they're pushing, we'll come with you. You know what I mean?
Right. And I think that having that Slack channel is more pointed towards Milwaukee, because even for myself, all of my stuff from SpiceWorks goes into my clutter, you know, and it may be 4 or 5 days before I kind of scroll through my clutter to see what's in there, you know. So I think that we've pushed the Slack channel enough that we should be good there. Dennis, are you on our Slack? Do you use Slack at all?
Yes, and you know, to be honest, my account's a little bit screwed up. It's tied to an email address that you know from the last company I worked for. So that you know no longer exists, and so I don't get the emails. But I'm on the site every day.
Right.
So I get the content that I'm searching for, and and I'm interested in getting it, and I have the opportunity to pick and choose rather than having it pushed to me. So in that respect, I think I'm going to leave my account screwed up.
Fair enough.
He's a perfect fit for this group.
Exactly. Exactly.
So do you guys like a 6 o'clock start for a meeting like this? Does that work for a lot of people?
To be honest, Wednesday afternoons, it's the only job I'm still working, from 2 to 6 p.m. At Capitol Drive Airport out in Pewaukee. So I can get here and I'll be late. But other than that, you know, any other day than Wednesday would be wonderful.
You can always join like Jared does.
I'm sorry?
You can always join like Jared is, just driving.
Yeah.
And we've had meetings on, I mean, not virtual meetings, like in-person meetings on both Wednesdays and Thursdays. And I've always thought that the Thursday meetings seem to have more people, but Matt, you had the matrix on that. I think that at this point we could pick any day. And if Wednesday doesn't work for one person, we could certainly shift it to Thursday. And if it's 6 o'clock on Thursday doesn't work, we could shift it to Thursday at 7 o'clock, you know? Because
well, you know, I don't want to make this unfair. I mean, you know, I'm just one person out of the group, but maybe if you did a survey to get, collect some responses, you know, if you get responses out of the 870. Yeah.
Well,
we've tried to
do it out of the 10 that are here. That would be the ones that are going to show up.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the group you see now, this seems to be the group. They're the group that it was the group that we had last month, you know?
Oh, we had a few different people. I mean, we have a couple regular, but we had a few different.
Yeah, I know. I didn't make last month's.
Yeah. So it's
I'm not calling anybody out because things happen, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying that I think this Milwaukee group is probably less than 30 people.
Yeah. Well, it's
Can
funny.
I call it now? I do believe I was getting called out like all the time during the last virtual meeting. So
that's because you fucking RSVP and then don't show up.
Okay,
I
but
said maybe.
My sense is that, you know, the few people that show up are religiously showing up.
Yes.
So, you look where the light is brightest.
Well, you're wise. I like that.
We retired 3 times. Something's got to.
There you go. So I'm not so smart after all.
Yeah, I was gonna say not so wise.
Yeah, no, for me, it's been well, out of work now, but even for West Bend, I mean, 6 o'clock, it really didn't matter to me which night. 6 o'clock for me was a matter of traffic and which location you were at.
Right.
But at this point, for me to throw something out there and say, hey, I like this or that time, I don't know what I'm going to find for a new job. So I throw out a time. Well, that may change if I find a new job.
Yeah.
You know,
know.
I could bring a laptop with me to the airport and just stay. I mean, basically, I'm the airport manager, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
You know, if that's the direction we're going to go, then that's fine. I can deal with it. I am one person out of the group, and I get value out of it, and I'm not going to disrupt the group.
Right, but if there's one person that has an issue with the time and no one else has a problem with the time, then it behooves us to work within your time constraints. And I'm
No big
okay
deal.
with that.
No
And
big
if anyone
deal.
has a problem with that, raise their hand now, virtually.
Can we do that with the?
Make yourself count.
Well, there goes my popularity.
No. You're 10% of who showed up this week, so you count.
Well, and there's no problems with coming in late.
Exactly.
I mean, people come in late to the real life meetings. People show up early
Right.
at the real life meetings. I think
True.
I got an email
Okay.
that Jared popped into here at 4, and I was like, dude, I'm not opening the room at 4. I'm working still.
Okay,
was just
then if it's
mistaken,
not a
like-
big deal, then I'll
Yeah.
go with the crowd and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like from 5:30, I was like, should I start now? And I was like, nah, let me go do a couple other things. And then I waited, and then I popped on right away, and Darnell was here. I was like, okay, we're good. So I mean, it's yeah, early, late.
That's impressive.
And we had sent around a piece of paper at one of the SpiceCorps meetings months back about what vendors people wanted to hear from. I think we could still do that with this group. I mean, if there are people that you guys want to hear from, well, I think we should try and do that. So I think, especially because now the vendors don't have to pay for food and drink, they can do it virtually from their living room. We may actually get more vendors to come present to us. Now, the only thing that we miss out of that is food and drink. But if it's an issue, I'll fucking DoorDash some shit to your house. But the swag, we were missing the swag. And if it comes down to that,
Yeah.
you guys all cigars. What the hell?
Well, I mean, like last week's swag was something that I won from a virtual event I went to. So I mean, sometimes that's how we do things. The absinthe, yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, I would like to have that as a gift, and I would like to win that this time.
Well, if we do a meetup, I'll bring some.
Awesome.
So I mean, it doesn't necessarily even have to be a vendor. It could be an area or some kind of system or just a solution. Are you guys looking for a solution? Throw that out to the group. Actually, I could get KnowBe4 if we want them.
All right,
Yeah, they'll do it virtually. Then why not? They weren't going to do it in person, so why not? And not only that, Jared does the VoIP, and he's got a presentation already. I mean, we heard his presentation. What was that, last year, Jared? We heard that.
Yeah,
but still.
Yeah, you're gonna do another one this year? You leaving?
It was 2 years ago.
Thumbs up. What?
Isn't that the one you did at Spice
Hey,
World?
my signal's better now. I only had one bar for a while, so I figured I'd break up if I tried to talk.
You're breaking up with us?
No,
you did.
Yes, Darnell would be happy. No. Yeah, it was 2 years ago that I did the one that I did at Spice for the Spice World. I had a presentation last year. I have another one this year. It's actually about E911 because there are actual laws changing and everybody's affected by it. So it's not actually wrote up yet. It's only been submitted as a talk for Spice World, but I will be writing it up and talking about it. And I was going to offer to you guys to do another event like this, same. On the food and drink side, let me say something. I attended a seminar today from Avanti, IVANTI, whatever the hell they are. and they had a virtual lunch and learn. It was a 1-hour seminar, and all the attendees got a $25 gift card after they attended for Domino's.
Oh, I like that. I like that.
The Iowa one.
Well, how
I
did
went to,
how did they get them?
afterwards?
Well, I mean, I got an email with the code for a $25 gift card for Domino's.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've
like
done
that.
one of those where they sent it to me when I was at the office. They had pizza delivered. They delivered it to everybody.
I did one of those ones.
Seminar.
I did one of those today where they sent pizza.
Really, that's pretty cool. I'm gonna hit up Jason then to send out some gift cards because just so you guys know, when a vendor comes, like if we're at Moe's, the vendor is on the hook for about $400 to $600.
I spent over $6.
Huh?
The one I hosted at Moe's where I did my VoIP one 2 years ago, that was a little bit over 600.
Right. Do we have more people
that night?
I had
I don't remember the attendance count. It was a good room, and it's not like it was not more than I expected either. It's honestly, for doing something like that, that's the price tag I expect.
Sure. So either way, I mean, even if this is the amount of the size of people we have, 12 to 20 people, and they send us a $20 gift certificate for something that's in everyone's area, like a Burger King or a Domino's or a Noodles, I don't think that's unfair to ask.
And honestly, it's probably cheaper for them.
Yeah, because they don't have to fly anybody anywhere.
Yeah, totally.
They're not flying, they're not staying, they're not renting a car. Absolutely.
Yeah.
The meeting I'm doing Saturday, the West Coast Virtual SpiceCorps, we got 4 vendors: Sublime Security, Automox, Fortinet, and Eaton.
Wow, Eaton came to the table.
Mm-hmm.
I think Eaton's done a bunch of presentations.
Yeah, we had Eaton do our last in-person St. Louis one.
And I don't know if
No,
they're doing
Automox
sort of swag or any of that stuff, but those are pretty decent vendors.
Yeah.
But honestly, like, usually I'm not like in it for the swag. Like all the meetups and stuff that I go to, like I'll grab like a water bottle or two if it doesn't get stolen, you know. But like, I mean, I don't care for like an Echo show or like a TV or anything like that. You know, I'm there to learn, you know, so, and just to like enrich myself. So I guess like that's my take on all of that. Not that I can even take anything anyways, but still. So
why do you got to hate on the Echo show?
I didn't hate on it the last one. Like I really wanted it maybe, you know, but at the same time, it's like, there's other people that, you know, can actually legally accept it. So policy, yo.
So yeah, no, I think I don't know if how we would go about having you guys that are on here now put out, or not put out, but give us an idea of who you want to hear from. That's what I hear.
You gotta wine and dine me first.
Hard.
I gotta food and drink you first.
Wine and dine.
Well, the E911 sounds pretty interesting. I was involved with Meritech in the late 80s when they first started. So I'd like to hear how that evolved.
I have an idea. I don't know, just by maybe a show of hands for I've thought about this. I know I told you, Darnell, about this as a presentation, and maybe with enough people saying it sounds good, I might do it. But getting businesses to think of IT no longer as a cost, a utility. IT is now a utility. You can't run a business without your electricity. You shouldn't be running a business without IT. Stop looking at ROI, because you don't look at your ROI on your electric bill or your fiber bill. It's now to start time to think about IT the same way. So I don't know what you guys think of that. If that is something that sounds interesting, I should start working on that. If sounds like it's got legs and seems feasible. But I don't know.
That's kind of an interesting direction to take it. In a few of the places I've worked, I've heard that more described as IT as a business partner,
Mm-hmm.
contrary to an expense or a cost. But looking at it as a utility is kind of interesting. And that was
Yeah.
one thing about the presentation today where I've seen some of those numbers before, but those stats are nuts. And especially at Alexa, where I'd go to small business clients and they'd look at you and go, I'm a small business. Why is that? They're not trying to hack me. I got nothing for them. Why do I care?
Well, that's when you need to alert them of how, the blockchain works. How,
Yeah.
ask them, like, if you've heard of the Target hack. Yeah, we've heard of it. Target got hacked. Like, no, it was the HVAC vendor who got hacked that got into Target. Like, it's really alerting them and teaching them. But, like, in my head, like, I fleshed this out as, like, think of IT as like your restaurant. Like, would you want to cook your whole restaurant with just, using a microwave? Well, no. So then you need networking. Well, networking is your stovetop, and, security is your oven. And just, those weren't the exact things, but that's kind of the model. And it's like, when you're using an MSP, sorry, Jared, but it's like, well, now you're telling somebody to go cook this out in the garage. Like, is that, down the block? Do you want them to be cooking things for you, or do you want it to be at the actual restaurant where you're working? So, I mean, I had this kind of fleshed out a little bit, and you can see that the more I talk, sometimes I convince myself, but it sounds like it's got legs at some point. But those were the lines I'm thinking.
Yeah, I think that discussion, I think just a discussion of how do we get businesses to move away from that. This is nothing more than an expense. This is nothing more than a cost.
Yeah. I mean,
why do I need to get rid of Windows 7? It still works.
If you're making $2 million a year last year and you made it $2 million a year this year and you're making $2 million a year next year, like, that's fine. Stay where you are, but eventually that $2 million is going to be 1.8, and then it's go to 1.5, and then you're gonna be like, well, what's going on? Well, I mean, you have
value of money.
Yeah, you got to put money in sometimes to make money.
Yeah, and I've had the conversation more than once, especially working for an accounting firm, where I talk about wanting, having some IT or need, and they're like, well, I'm actually what makes the firm money. I build clients. I'm where the money comes from. You come after me. And then I had to have the conversation of, okay, well, I'm going to take your computer away and tell me how much you're going to bill them for now.
Yeah.
That's interesting because
and I talked about that a little bit in my seminar last year at Spice World, where it was, IT, what the hell did I call it? I forgot what I called my seminar. But whereas IT helps the business, does management know it? And that's because it's sort of similar. It's a service. One of the things I said in that is how we have to learn to speak business, because the business can't speak IT because they're in the, they're learning money, or they're doing money and all that. We just need to learn how to talk to them in their terms. And I guess maybe this thing you're talking about could be a way to help, convince them how IT needs to function within the business, and it'd be a way that IT people can talk to their business about it.
Well, and one of the things I think about is, like, to your point of talk to them in their business talk. Well, we're IT. We don't know business talk, So, but when we have a problem, one of their problems, and we talk to them, we dumb it down and we make a way to relate to them of how this works. So this just expands on that. We just say, like, right, look, I'm going to tell you, like I said, we all go to restaurants. We all know what a restaurant is. We all know how they work. That's why we use, like, an example like that. Because if I try to start saying, well, okay, say you got this investor from over here, and then you got a bank rate over here, like, it's just, I'm going to lose myself. I'm going to lose them on that. So that's how I think about it. Like, instead of trying to talk to them on their terms, I'm going to talk to them on terms that everybody as a human knows. We all know how a restaurant works. We all know different kinds of restaurants. So let's use that kind of lingo versus trying to talk business, because I don't know business. I know IT. I know security.
An example of that, I think.
That's true to a certain extent, but I think
something of the business.
A lot of companies run on business units, and each department has its own budget and its own accounts receivable and payable. And if you run IT in that environment, then you end up having to explain everything and having to dumb it down. And the other departments don't have to, because they're business units and they already know how business works. So in the sense, if IT is run separately as the enabler for the company, and the business units can fight it out amongst themselves, but IT is always on the losing end, because IT doesn't make money on the surface, but IT makes money for the company.
We enable the
Electric
company to make money.
I put in a review at a former employer because their self-review was standard that they gave to every single person in the company. And so in the question, well, based on their values and mission statement, you had to define how you exemplified that. And my response was, if I don't do my job, you can't do this.
Yeah, if I don't do my job, nobody does
You
their
didn't
job.
go over very well, but I said, I looked at him, I said, prove me wrong. Let me take away your computer. What if your computers don't work? How do you carry out your mission?
Let me shut down the internet.
So, at least like with the city that I'm in, like we're considered like internal services. So basically, like we, keep detailed like lists of like, what I do, all that stuff, and then we bill it out to all the other departments that way accordingly. And then if they want anything else, like let's say they have like a GIS project that I'm actually working on right now for our utilities department, they actually will like assume like an extra amount of cost. They'll take like more of the share of like what IT is costing the city. So like I technically, like for the department, make absolutely no money, but I'm always getting more money in my department because of like, projects or things that, like that we need to grow. So I'm not sure like if that's like kind of going against like normal thinking right now, but like I guess I would want to say that like at least for where I work at, they're actually like wanting to grow IT, and like they're willing to put more money into it because they can definitely see like, the benefits of having it. So hence why, I may have like another coworker next year, budget year 2021. Even though I already like put in my budget, I'm definitely going to get an intern, so for at least a little bit, I'm getting at least another person part-time. Or possibly like another coworker. So
I had an interview today, and
On a totally random note, I just passed a guy on a Harley with an oxygen tube strapped to his back and wearing the little oxygen thing under his nose.
Yo, man, COVID-19 is a crazy, crazy virus.
I'm going down Interstate 55.
Yo, man, you don't know. Somebody could be like vaping out their window. They could be vaping out their window.
I've seen that. And, well, actually, I was on a Harley the one time I saw that, and that was not a fun cloud to drive through.
It was strawberry shortcake, by the way.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out how they saw out the front windshield too.
Wow.
As I said too, I had an interview today, and is the manager for the location here in Wisconsin, and we were actually talking about this in reference to COVID and all of a sudden everyone working at home, is how many companies all of a sudden had to figure out how do we work now? Because all of a sudden, all the ones that said, why do I need to worry about Teams? Why do I need to worry about video conferencing or chatting with someone online? We don't do that here. I'll just walk over to their desk. And we were talking about how many had to all of a sudden learn, well, gee, aren't you glad you already paid for this? Because now you're seeing, this is included in what you've already paid for, but now why do you need to know about this? Other cases where, well, they have to be able to work from home. Oh, well, they don't have laptops. Well, okay, what are you going to allow them to do then? oh, we don't have the ability to connect into our network to VPN. Oh, well, now you need that.
Well, then
And we're
is there?
talking about that evolution of what's just happened, that all of a sudden every company that said, nah, we're work from home, nah, waste time, nah, not gonna do it, nope, can't do it. And all of a sudden, oh,
Yeah, you have to worry about is your firewall
AIT.
handling that? Is your network backbone able to transfer those kind of speeds and everything? You know, when everybody's gone, and we have the luxury of actually, like, I'm actually in our building. I'm upgrading everything to 10 gig right now, just because nobody's in the building. I can shut shit down and get it done, but I can't go in, so I got to do it through somebody else. So it kind of sucks, but I mean, when all this happened, we went from a 5% remote workforce to 100%. And we did it overnight, and we had to buy a couple monitors. That was it. Our business continuity plan and our DR plans had us set up for this. So, I mean, you got to be able to use that and talk to people like that, because there's businesses that are shutting down now because they couldn't handle this. They had to take whatever was available. So, I mean, you got to make it work.
For all my remote workers, I had to figure out a way how to get 70 plus RSA tokens. But the order to, when I called the company to get them, it was going to take up to 3 months to get them because there was such a backlog in getting them. So I ended up having to figure out a way, how do I get all these people to be able to work remote without an RSA token? So I did a bunch of research, and I found some tools and some free software and a couple things, and got everybody was able to remote into their computer right on the center and work from home virtually like that. So yeah, I mean, it was crazy for a couple days, but
We'll just say the city was not prepared. However, it was prepared to a certain extent. Like, we had the foundation, but it was like me scrambling a lot, because generally, like, for at least like local government, and I'm pretty sure, like, you know, state too, citizens do not like the idea of taxpayer money working at home in general. So like, it was always a big no-no. Like, the funny thing about, like, you were talking about Teams, I literally had, like, I called it the hit list of people. Like, basically we have a 365 G3 account, and then, like, they do basically like auto updates quarterly, and one of the updates was like Teams, an inclusion of Teams. So I had the hit list of like users that I had to basically like remove Teams from. So like, here I go, you know, like, remove Teams. And then all of a sudden, literally a week and a half later, I'm reinstalling Teams, you know, on all of their machines. So remotely, which is fantastic, but still, like, I'm still reinstalling Teams on all of their machines. So yeah.
I know our Zoom meetings tripled in the first month and doubled every month since. And our Teams usage, I think we had 5 channels and maybe 1,000 messages average, and it went up to about 50 channels and 10K plus messages as soon as everything started. Like, being able to pull metrics and stuff has been a big deal to show people. And like, I look at our firewall every day. We would have 1 or 2 people in the firewall, you know, VPN'd in. Now we have an average of about 60. And it just, everything is running as usual. So
Yeah.
it's nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I skipped the VPNs for my customers who needed people to go home. Instead, I did similar to, I think what Todd said. I used brain just went shut down, and
It was the oxygen tank.
I think he just got into an accident.
Maybe in his pants, all those fries, man.
Those fries went through his pants.
I used a solution called Zero
Hope you
Tier.
can use an E911.
Yeah, there you go. Create its own little mesh network, and then Zero Tier, I limited it to only the RDP protocol. So even the people on their home machines that might have all kinds of nasty infections can only use the RDP protocol into their desk computer.
Nice.
I wouldn't have to worry about shit coming in from all the work at home stuff.
Yeah.
That's smart. I like that.
That was one of the negatives for us is like I actually had to like source all the machines within the city itself. So yeah, that was a negative. Like we have like all of our remote workers never use their own computers. So that was the nasty bit. But that's just due to like some compliance regulations that we have, like a PD especially. But what was cool about the PD was they were like, yo man, this is gonna happen. And they like actually were talking to me about like, you know, working from home, at least like admin staff, all that kind of stuff, like a month before like Evers shut everything down basically. But like at that point I was like scrambling. I at least got, you know, stock, enough stock that well, not enough stock to tell you the truth. I was kind of doing the whole, who do I think is essential, you know, and then just ordering laptops then. But like it was really hard to push that budget through, just because we're like stuck with like POs and things like that. So yeah, there was like, it's a saga. I'm sure like a lot of municipalities face that themselves, unless like, you know, they were just like, F it, you can use your home computer. But like we stuck by our like policy, you know, and really legitimately deployed machines that we never had, you know, so fun.
So kind of
one of the things we worked on before I left is Dell DEX, DEX is a Android docking station, and we were in the process of converting over to, you know, from Prem Office installations to Office 365. We discovered that if you use these docking stations with Android phones in a monitor and a keyboard and a mouse, and it's basically a little KVM switch for Android phones, you can do everything you can do on a laptop. You can do it on your phone, and it looks exactly the same. So for us, what happened was we were able to get rid of desktops and laptops and just issue phones, and it cut our licenses down to a third. And it cut our hardware inventory down to a third. And it was amazing what you can do with a phone and get rid of all the crap.
Like is Dex still
and
like
people are totally mobile. You already have a phone.
It's Samsung Dex, I believe. I have it on my phone. It's nice. You get the whole browser experience. I think you definitely need to have a lot of stuff in the cloud.
Right. That's the whole point. Is that if you're totally cloud based, if you have nothing on prem, then with Office 365 and any other SaaS applications, you're good to go. And your employees, wherever they go, all they need is the Dex station and their phone, and everywhere you go, you can scam a monitor and a keyboard and a mouse from wherever you're going and deal with whatever you have to do. But you can do everything, and I can do it from home, and I can do it from Wichita or wherever I end up, and it was no big deal. We got rid of 2/3 of our equipment and our licenses. We saved a fortune.
Yeah, I don't think we're quite there yet. So in terms of infrastructure,
I'm telling you, just as an experiment, just get one of them. You can get them on Amazon. They're like $100, and a monitor and a keyboard and a mouse. Just try it out.
You don't even need the dock. I have a Note 10. You just install the Dex app.
Yeah.
Plug it into a USB.
Right.
Yeah.
And is that like vetted, like just for like, you know, maybe like compliance
Probably not.
Okay.
I don't think. I mean, you're at that point. I mean, you probably would need some kind of AV and MDM. There's different
Okay.
things like
Yeah, fair enough.
on the phone to lock it down because the user is still going to put Candy Crush and crap like that on there. I mean,
Yo, man, I'm fine with Candy Crush.
yeah.
Man, don't
Like
hate on
level
the
like
truck.
2,000, man, or like 8,000. I don't even know anymore. So
I got 2 sales guys I could probably remote in right now. They're playing.
awesome.
On a side note, is anybody using like an E3 Office 365 licensing for their company or anything like that?
I'm using a G3, which is the deployments of stuff is like slower though. Actually, it's like it was G3 and then like got rolled back into E3, but they call it like government E3 now instead of just G3, something like that. So,
Do you have Azure Active Directory added?
I've got half and half.
Cloud?
So,
The
Are
Azure
you
Active
doing
Directory
do you do weekly login checks?
no.
Ooh. So
I
I
do
learned
not.
so we're a SOC 2 security compliant.
Okay.
Thanks to Wifley, Rock's company. And one of the things I do weekly is I check our 365 logins. Well, for a company based on your cell phone and everything else you use, it's anywhere between 15 and 25,000 lines in an Excel document. I've found a way to throw that into Power BI and be done and looking at it in about 5 minutes. So I can pinpoint locations based on successful and failure logins. And I can see if someone had a successful login in South Africa, I know that person didn't go to South Africa, that account is now compromised. So I can use that and force a password change and things like that. So there's lots of cool things I'd recommend being able to do if you can do that. It's just
Depending on your licensing for Azure, have you looked at the conditional access?
I haven't looked at that yet. We're using just the free. We have our 80 on prem. We're just throwing it up in the cloud to be able to look at it.
Yeah.
So,
That was one of the things that we had a couple of our clients when I was at Alexa that they sprung for the, well, I know it's Azure, it's the premium protection or something P1, which I think they've reshuffled where all those are. But if you really need to lock down who can log in or what can log in from where, that is definitely worth looking at them. We actually did it for our own accounts at Alexa and basically wrote a conditional access rule that says our accounts cannot be logged into from outside.
Yep.
That's what we're doing right now too. So, and actually we even geofence a little more than that.
Yeah.
We tell our department heads whenever they feel like going to Vegas, not this year, but wherever, that they can't have any access to email unless like they let me know about it. And then from there, it's literally that one user that can basically take one line, like on the map, and then that's where they can log in from. So
yeah, we had a financial services firm as a client, and they locked down logins period outside of their office except for 3 people who are allowed to check their email on their phone.
Yep.
And that along with multi-factor authentication. Yeah, it got interesting to see what turned out. Well, first of all, you knew when someone gave up their password because all of a sudden they're calling you wondering why they've got a text message with an authentication code.
That's real nitty gritty.
Yeah,
oh,
but
yeah.
then with conditional access, it doesn't matter. Even if you have the password,
Yep.
it still blocks the login.
Yeah.
And you get the audit logs depending how much you want to chase down and where. And it sounds like you've got a great little tool there with the Power BI to take care of that.
Yeah, and I just put on the geofencing or the conditional access last week. The geofencing's been on our firewall for a while, but with OWA, things like that, yeah. So I was going to recommend, yeah, definitely we should, if anybody was looking to do that, we could walk through it or show people. That'd be fun.
Being that we just implemented Active Directory in our environment, I wouldn't mind if someone who knew about Active Directory would want to present something to this group, because I am a rookie. I bought the book PowerShell and a Month of Lunches 3 years ago, and I'm still on chapter 1. So if anyone has that skill, I would be a rapt participant.
Mine stands up real nice too, next to a bookcase.
All right.
Darnell, are you talking about the sync with 0365 or just generally?
No, he literally just implemented a domain. He's had non-domain computers forever.
Yeah.
Forever. Yeah. So I had CCB come in and set up the environment, and as of right, so they got it ready, and as of right now, I have 5 computers joined to the domain, and those computers are just computers where no salesperson were sitting at. I had a salesperson that I was going to test it on, and he quit yesterday, so now that doesn't help me. I have a technician in the service department that starts tomorrow. He has a laptop that I joined to the domain. I'm not going to tell him that he's joined to the domain. I'm just going to say, hey, here it is. Here's your login. Let me know if anything gets crazy.
Oh, so,
what I
so
can't
that,
figure out.
That's what you were talking about with your profile transfer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Now that makes. I was like, okay, yeah. We actually we had a client, new one that we got right before I was laid off, and we had fun pulling them into a domain when they had random people were on the domain, random people were off the domain, and whoever did their IT last made all the domain and non-domain user IDs the same. So you had no idea without really checking to see if the person was actually logging into their local account or their
domain or their domain account. Gotcha. And I'm pretty lucky. I have a pretty progressive company. Like I don't have too many people that give me too much pushback. It was being that I was in the company. I've been there for 16 years, and only recently in the last 6 years been in IT. They know me, they see me, you know. So when I come up with something to do, they're like, "Oh, okay, this makes sense because you've done my job before. You know, I've done all the positions there." But this whole Active Directory, it's some new stuff I'm embarking on, and I even tried to do something.
The easy answer, Darnell, is there's nothing to do. The domain itself, just at the base level, all you're doing is it's their username and their password, and you don't have to apply anything else. That's it. You're done. And then as you want to start doing things, you can add rules with GPO and stuff, but nothing else. Nothing with Active Directory is really all that hard. All you're doing is centralizing the login and password resets at the highest level.
I think the hardest part, like you said, is the moving their desktop, their profile, and anything that might be app related.
Yeah.
And recreating.
Yeah, profile moves suck. You're screwed there. There's some software you can buy. I don't remember them anymore, but I know some existed because I looked at them in the past, like 10 years ago. And it's always come down to, just make a move. Just deal with it. They probably need a wiped profile anyway.
Probably anyway. I agree with that.
Why do you have 4 bookmarks to free Hotmail?
But going forward, I mean, I need to make this as easy as possible so that as I implement changes with GPO, people aren't all freaking out. So here's an instance. I tried to make it so that the lock screen had our company logo. I can't figure that shit out. Like I went into the group policy, I went into the administrative tools, I went into control panel, I set up where the JPEG was on the file on the network share. Went into a computer, did the GP update, it did its thing. Fucking nothing. Fucking nothing. I don't know what I did wrong. I don't know if I'm not doing it right.
I will have to say,
I follow the YouTube video exactly.
I will have to say, from what I remember with like background images, like I think you have to capitalize the B. I'm not even joking. Like, I remember when I was like going through that shit, and it was like, what am I doing wrong? You know, I'm going through all of it. Granted, it could have been something else. You know, it could have been like some voodoo magic that I didn't know, like in the background. But like my takeaway was capitalize that B, like with the JPEG, and then it's also like a certain like file size restriction too. Like you had to make sure that it's within a certain limitation and a certain like yeah, literally size. I think that was like my 2 takeaways from that. But seriously, capitalize that B.
Okay, that makes sense. But
capitalize that
the
B.
logo that I grabbed, is kind of big, and I just assumed that it would resize it.
No, I think it's like 3 meg or like maybe even less than that. But I'm just saying it was something along those lines where I was trying to figure it out because I pushed it out to like our test machines and I was like,
yeah,
So
yeah, you have a test environment. You have a device to test with too.
Yes.
Sorry.
Okay. Yes.
And Darnell, the number one rule with Active Directory: never change the freaking default domain policy.
Oh yeah.
Don't ever change that GPO.
Don't touch it.
Don't touch the default domain policy ever.
Okay.
That's where Darnell's been playing in the whole time. So
restore default.
No. See, that's why I ask questions to this group. These are people that are smarter than me, and I appreciate that.
Well, the other thing I would throw in based on some experiences I've seen is when they save stuff now, do you have them saving it to a network location or just locally on the machine?
So they have, each user will have their own My Documents at My Desktop. So only one person right now had their computer joined, but he quit yesterday. So tomorrow will be the first actual test run of a guy that has a laptop that has Active Direct, has the domain, has it joined to the domain. So
yeah, that'll be something to look at if you're going to like sync any of their profile data. And it's like if you log into computer A and then you log into computer B, do you have access to the files you were working on computer A?
Okay, yes. Okay, so I have my own user account as aside from the admin account. So on my user account, I can log into any of the computers I have joined, and it shows a little desktop icon that I saved on my desktop. I also saved a text document in my document, and that pulls over at each machine that I log into.
Okay. So you have to set up for roaming profiles.
Roaming profiles, yeah.
Yep.
Roaming profile.
Roaming profiles, redirected profile folders.
Redirected folders. That's what it's called. Or that's what they said it was called.
Yeah.
How often do you have people logging into different machines?
There will only be one computer that the salespeople will have where they can log into. But otherwise, everyone has their own computer. They won't need to log in anywhere else unless the sales guys go up to the front of the store. That's called the up desk. And there's a computer there where they can like check their leads, check their email, that they can log in with their own user profile. But again, at this point, I only have 5 machines joined, but those 5 machines, 4 of those machines, there's no one sitting at. The one that I had was the guy, like I said, that quit yesterday. So now it'll be the first production one will be tomorrow when this technician starts. So
are you getting your whole back end on the network too? Or on the domain?
I'm sorry?
You're getting servers on the domain too?
Yes.
Well, yeah, so I'm off for the night, so I will talk to you guys later.
All right, Todd.
Thanks, Todd.
The only thing, hearing your talk, how the reason I don't like using redirect or roaming profiles unless they're actually needed, because you can also end up causing problems.
Okay.
So it's interesting that that is set up if everybody just always has their own machine and they don't need them.
I agree.
Wait, say that again, Jared.
All right. If everybody only ever logs into their own computer, having that redirected documents and folders and such, as long as everything's working fine, is transparent. But I've also seen where redirected folders break and then people don't have access to their stuff. So it adds a layer of complexity, which is a very useful layer if it's needed. for
If it's
people that
needed.
sign into different computers. The question is do you really need that level of complexity? It may or may not break anything. It usually doesn't when it's set up right. But then over time and Windows updates and this and that, things also go wrong. And it's just one more thing to break. Just like we say, don't touch that default domain policy, is you also want to, you know, only change things in small increments when it's beneficial. And, you know, this really doesn't matter if it's Active Directory or anything else. It's just generally a good policy. But redirected folders is one of them. You know, what's the perceived benefit that you're trying to get out of redirecting the folders if you're not logging into different computers? Is it because that stuff's stored on the server?
That was going to be my throw-in. Do you have network shares available where people are storing what they need to keep? Because otherwise, if you have no profile redirect, if you lose that hard drive, that person may lose all their stuff.
Well,
Like,
that's what SharePoint was for.
We tell people if it's on your desktop, it's not backed up. The network is backed up. We don't back up personal devices. We don't back up devices. We back up the network. So save it on the network.
Yeah, that's our take too. And then I will have to say, like, when the PD moved to Windows 10, they had redirected folders and all that, just because, like, you know, officers can jump from one PC, from one workstation to another. That's like how it was set up previously. It worked fine. Windows 10 kicked in late last year, for us at least, because I always run behind. But late last year for us, and that was a shit show, man. Like, that's all I gotta say. Like, we're talking like, yeah, no, just it was all sorts of bad. So that's why when you were talking about like the redirects, I was just like nodding my head. I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. It makes sense, you know, because like I'm guessing you're already in a Windows 10 environment, and then all of your sales guys, you know, they can move from office to office. That's what I was thinking. But if they're literally like planted in front of their PC, and then there's just like this one random PC, like I would just probably throw in like network shares for that one then, if they really need access to information, because throw them into a group, or you know, even
that pushes that drive. Yeah. If they're in that group, they get that drive.
I've seen redirected folders and enrollment profiles. I've seen them go great, and I've seen them go bad. Even when they were properly done, I've seen them get screwed up. So it's definitely something to think about and make sure, if it needs to be done, do it right and have a plan. Otherwise, get network shares and get permissions set up accordingly, and use policy to map drives.
Yeah.
Yep. That's the best way to go.
Isn't it too, like if the more GPOs you have, like it could slow you down too, having multiple GPOs?
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, if you have the more policies you have, well then you want to look at, do you split your policies by groups? You know, you have sales policy for sales group, you have admin policy for admin group, service group, whatever.
Right. Darnell shouldn't have that problem though with his organization.
Yeah.
I inherited a mess that had like 3 or 4 different people doing different ways each way, and I fumbled my way through and got things working. And then when I finally brought somebody in who could do it, I was like, it's all you, dude. Take it, do it. Whatever you want to do it. I'm good.
Yeah. I know when I was at the TV and radio stations, I had to, when we moved and they moved to the new company, they gave me, and all of a sudden they dropped servers and network got dropped in my lap, and I finally got the setup where I could do VMs, and I replaced our file and application servers, and I wiped from scratch, redid the folder structure, the network shares, and updated the GPOs, because I had no idea who was getting what, when, or how. And I ended up re-imaging about a dozen machines because they refused to accept or they refused to run all of GPO. So yeah, it's, you know, as long as you have a great environment, you're good. Just hope you don't have, well, the nice thing about cleaning one up is you get to do what you want to do and do it right. The hassle sometimes is, for example, we had one network drive and it had over 300 folders on it, and I'm trying to figure out who had rights to what.
I'm almost wondering if like you're going about this, I don't want to say the wrong way, but like maybe get the back end on the domain first, get that all going, get that all queued up and working. And then it's as easy as popping a user on and saying, you have that, you have this, you have that, you know, things like that, versus getting the users on first and then trying to figure out network shares afterwards.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that.
So like I said, CCB has set this up for me. I sent them a list of all the users, and they created accounts for all the users. They have containers for all the devices. All I need to do then is just add the device to the domain, and then I can act. Yeah. So when you say the back end, what else is there besides the devices, the printers, and the users?
Well, back end to me is servers, your domain controller, your file servers, any kind of application databases, things like that.
It's
Okay,
basically
that's all
like,
it's been set up.
What was that?
I said that's all been set up.
Oh, okay. Never mind then.
So yeah, it's just me. I just need to add. Just need to add the what do you want to call it? The users and their computers, or not their users, but just their computers to the domain.
I almost wonder if it's as simple as dropping off a flash drive, saying save everything off your desktop that you want, dump it on the flash drive. You build, you know, obviously log them, you join the computer to the domain. As long as their profile or their new user account is on a domain, this is how you log in now. And then you'll probably have to delete, I would think you'd have to delete that local profile, or, you know.
you can just keep it on there if you really want to.
But
Unless you have a space issue.
Username is
back into it.
I think you have to hide the local profile if you're going to go roaming.
That's what I'm saying. How do you get the user to stop doing that and start going to like logging into his John Paul at Lake County or Lake Country?
Generally, like, isn't it like when a machine gets joined to the domain, it automatically tries to log into that domain unless you click on that like little tiny like question mark thing where it's like, how do I log into other domains? They're not going to do that, you know. So
you'd be surprised.
Well, okay. I would assume they're not going to do that.
Yeah.
So, but then again, I shouldn't assume. I know. I'm young. I'm sorry, guys.
Ideally, it's you join it and then that you clip your own, you know, your problem. But if you run into that problem, what's the other, you know, plan B? Because then if you do that, you join the device to domain. Now they log in as Bob Loblaw at whatever. He pops in his flash drive, he copies over the stuff, and now he's on the network. He's good. He's on the domain.
I think the big trick is, are you in a scenario where your domain username is not the same as your local? Because then at least you have an identifier. I've had times where that's been done, where the domain username Kurt was also the local username was Kurt. So now you have all kinds of fun.
Domain.Kurt and Kurt and users.
What's that?
In your users photo, you'll have like domain.Kurt and as well as Kurt.
Yeah. Do you have a protocol? Are you telling people like it's first initial last name, or, you know, first two initials, first three initials of last name, or do you have something built yet?
It's first initial last name. But I guess yes. So yeah, first initial last name.
Why don't you log in and screen share? Let's get this going. Let's do this.
I was even thinking like, you know, the next SpiceCorps meeting, we're all rolling up to the dealership, you know, checking out cars and then checking out the you know, Active Directory. You know, that'd be a hell of a fun time.
Listen, Darnell, my statement of work is just a 2020 Mustang. That's it.
I was just going to say, check out the swag at the next meeting.
Yeah, dude. Actually, Darnell, I am in the.
Look at a car.
Oh, you Oprah.
Yeah,
It's like-
Maseratis for everyone.
Darnell, quick question. Do you get any electric cars?
This
at the
guy.
dealership?
Well, yeah, we have the Chevy Volt. That's an electric car. We take trades in all the time, so absolutely.
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie, I like the new electric Hummer. I'm thinking of.
Jesus.
I like that.
Dude, that's like China made, man. That's like all made in China, dude.
I don't care.
Okay, fair enough. It's like the Chinese one is like, nah, man, I'm not gonna buy from China. You know, it's like that and Volvos. I'm sorry.
I remember back in college, they sent around, there was this email list going around, and it was all the different anagrams for all the different car makes and models. They took the variants for like Ford found on road dead. And every single make and model you can imagine was on that list.
I had friends that used to say first on race day for Ford.
That was the counter to.
Oh, we know that's not true.
Yeah.
Drips oil, drops grease everywhere.
What was that?
What was that one?
Dodge.
Dodge,
Oh.
yeah.
Nice.
Which is like basically owned by Fiat anyways nowadays. So yeah. I don't know. I'll stick to either Japanese cars for a little bit. I did European for a while, but it cost way too much. And then electric is basically my next go. So
In a Tesla?
yeah, I did a Tesla like driving experience in Lake Geneva a couple months back. It was all right, but that was right before the Ys were coming out. So I'm more in the market for kind of like a sportier crossover SUV kind of thing, just because I'm the target demographic, I guess you could say, for that vehicle. So it was all right. You know, it's not like mind blowing or anything, but then again, I have something, my like four banger gets like 12 miles to the gallon. So it's like,
I got
Didn't Ford
12 in my
announce some
Yukon.
kind of electric Mustang?
yeah, the E-Mustang.
Actually, yeah. Let's say, yep.
Or Mustang E or something like that, but their GT is
Mustang E. Yeah, Mustang E.
it's like around like 60, so it's comparable to the Model Y that I was looking at. So you know, I mean, we have a company that's been around on the block for a while, and then now we have Ford that's like, hey, we can make electric cars too, you know, and I'm just like, ooh, I'm not sure, you know. So
I can get 70 miles on my motorcycle.
You
dude,
give
I
me.
could get 110 miles on my moped. 49 cc's of pure power, baby.
Well, I got
It's not even a
805,
moped, it's a scooter. All right, so
I
You
idealize
give
it for mine.
you give me my gas guzzling fucking pickup truck that can haul anything I need and any car I need, and I'm happy. I'll pay the extra gas.
Yeah.
Well, my plane gets
Up in the air,
24
too, when you're
miles per
driving.
gallon, but I'm going 145 miles an hour.
my car could do that. So easy. Well, not easy, but it'll get up there.
Well, that's
so.
cruise.
You just need a
Oh,
hurricane.
That's
and
economy
typhoon to push you.
cruise.
Yo, man, that's like 6 miles per gallon at that point, you know? So I literally see that gas gauge go down. So, yo.
Right on.
Pickup truck, yeah, you hit about 60.
Darnell, you talk about hauling things. I'll send you some pictures of my blue Honda Insight that I've got always fully loaded with shit and stuff hanging out the windows and stuff, because that's all I got to haul shit.
Yo, doesn't the inside have the things on the side, though, for aerodynamics on the rear, like wheel well? Don't they have like the
that's
little plastic bits?
That's the old Insight. They came out with a new model in like 2010.
The
that
hindsight.
basically looks like a Prius.
Oh, but I thought those like hubcap cover things or the wheel covers
Yeah,
were
that
cool.
that was the original Insight, yeah.
Okay,
Sitting
my
on
bad.
13s, Jared?
Say what?
You got 13s? But you keep them clean?
They spin. They go round and round.
They do. The wheels on the bus go round and round, baby.
Nice.
Hey Matt. So I have a list of all the people that were here. Did someone drop off early on? Do we catch who that was? I
was
see
just a phone
Andy.
number.
Denise dropped off.
I got Denise.
No, we just had
I
a
got
phone
Kurt.
number and they didn't say anything. So
Yeah, the phone number one. That's the only one I don't have.
So I got Kurt, I got Ivan, I got Jared. Dennis, you're Dennis 5701, right?
Yes.
Yep. Okay, I had Todd, I got Rock, I got Matt, I got Denise, and I got Andy Kaufman. I feel like there were 2 more people that I didn't catch because they weren't on for very long. Anybody?
Usually after the recording, it gives me like a list. I can check that list
Oh, okay.
when the recording's done.
Yeah. It's because that way we can mark attendance and everybody still gets their spice points for attending a meeting. So, all right, I'm gonna sign off.
Yeah.
Jared, are you down to do your thing maybe for us next month? Will you be ready for that by then?
I can always find something in
911?
2 weeks too if we need. 2 to 3
If
weeks.
I have a deadline, I'll get it done. Basically, it's a presentation that I'm going to eventually be doing all over the place because of as it's a new law, as it's a law with the 911 changes. You know, it's a huge business opportunity for us. So as soon as I get this presentation done, we're going to start getting it out everywhere, you know, for hopeful business purposes anyway. So you guys say you want something for a meeting, I can do that.
It could be a
That'll
good
just
practice
make me get
session.
it done. Yeah.
So you're gonna do Wingstop deliveries too?
We'll talk to my boss about that. He's doing marketing now. We actually hired a company to help us put together a email marketing campaign. So if you got an email into your spam folder from Bundy and Associates, that's my fault. Because we blasted 5,000-6,000 emails out in the last 2 weeks to the Wisconsin, Illinois, Missouri, and region.
Just let them know it could be up to 8 to 800. So I mean, once we throw those free wings on there, I mean,
Oh, geez.
another 5 people.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So,
I can email some absinthe.
Oh, yo. First of all, Dennis, we still got to talk eventually. So
Wait for that IRL meeting, huh?
It's right here. It's right here.
Definitely.
Look,
I'll
look
I'll
what you
sign
guys
up for
did to me. This is all I have left.
Oh, this is no fair. I am driving people. This is not fair.
Oh, well, if we're gonna do that, I'll be back in a second.
Where am I? 178. I'm still 2 hours out of Chicago. So.
Jesus.
all right, guys, I got to bounce. My wife pops in the bedroom every so often, just kind of like stares at me. So it was really fun. Hopefully we'll eventually get to meet IRL, that kind of jazz. So, and Andy, you were here. So like,
I'm here.
all right.
I gotta
Hold
jump off too.
on.
So
This was not today.
take care,
Okay.
guys.
I'm gonna jump out too. Unfortunately, when I end it, it ends for everyone.
Ready? See y'all next time.
Later, guys.
Maybe next time.
Thank you for
Take
joining.
care.
Bye, guys.